It's no. I think we're live now.
Yes.
And here we are. It's Saturday Afternoon Matinee. I have decided that that is the final name for this show. Some people have problems with it. I'm not saying who does.
Fuck you, Gerry.
I do too.
Thank you, Martin.
At least it's not Saturday morning fun time.
No, because it used to be about like Saturday morning cartoon type stuff, but it's evolved. And unlike in other countries, in the United States, a matinee means any film shown during daytime hours. That's it. That's a matinee. And so I wanted to call it Saturday Matinee. At first, I went, no, that doesn't roll, because that was what Anima wanted. And I went, let me try something else.
I was willing to
and then I tried Saturday Afternoon Movie. No. I finally, the one that flows is Saturday Afternoon Matinee. It just rolls off the tongue better. So that's why that is the name of the show.
Well,
and all foreigners can shut the fuck up.
No. I'm not. I just have a question. I just have a question.
What?
How about? And I'm not saying you that you should change it. No. About the rolling of the tongue thing.
The running of the
matinee. What? Oh. Don't, please don't. I can't go with that word.
Well, I don't know what word you were saying.
Tongue. The rolling of the tongue.
Oh, tongue.
That shit is so hard for me. No. So how about Saturday matinee from time?
We'll just simply call it Martin's siesta.
No,
Martin's siesta cinema. Movies that play while Martin is asleep.
Well, it was being an hour, so I spent half of the show trying not to fall asleep.
At the end of every show, you'll be in your pajamas, and you'll come up and go, "Oh, did I miss it? What movie did we watch?"
No. Did I miss it? No. Hey, didn't you pause it?
If we're gonna do that, we need to have a guy named Jorge do the intro. It's like, hey man, today's film is called Tombstone, which is weird because nobody's dead in it.
Oh, yeah, there are people in it.
At least not at the beginning, right? We're gonna get there.
You force my hand, Shanotsky.
Uh-oh.
You're racist, Martin. I just want you to know that.
For all of our Asian-speaking audience, racist.
Where's that picture? We need that picture again.
Can't even diss me right. That's how bad you got
it. Before the first 5 minutes.
I figured I better get it out of the way.
This is a non-PC show. We're all about speaking our mind and speaking freely. If YouTube doesn't like it, they can demonetize it. I don't care. I'm like Nick on that. Nick and I agree.
So this is a Mac show?
I don't know what you said, so I'm just going to move on. Andy Morrow, Penny is here. Dragon Ruse is here. Let's see. And that's it right now. Nobody else wants to watch us. It says we have 14 watching. We are simulcasting over on Shanotsky's channel. Who else's channel are we on yours, Richard?
On mine?
We're on my channel and also
on deleted scenes. I knew we're all right. Cool. So we're simulcasting on 2 other people's channels. That's really nice. Hope everybody enjoys what we're going to be talking about today, which is absolutely, at one time, The Searchers was my #1 favorite Western of all time. Until this movie came out and in 1993, and this became my #1 favorite Western of all time, followed immediately by The Searchers. It is just one of the best films ever made. And there's a lot of controversy behind the making of this film, that the original director was fired, and they brought in Cosmatos, who had worked on 2 of the Rambo films, as I recall, right? there was even more controversy once he joined the set because they said it was utter chaos. And just recently on Michael Rosenbaum's show, Inside You, with Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah,
the
that name.
title of the show.
Phrasing.
What's his name? Michael Biehn was on there, and he so rarely does interviews, but he's been on there now twice, and he loves going on Rosenbaum's show. And he told him, he says, "Yeah, I didn't like Cosmatos, and when I finally had words with him, I said, don't you ever fucking talk to me again."
Damn.
And he says he didn't speak directly to him. He would give direction in general of what people were going to do, and Biehn just went about doing his job the way he saw he was going to do it. Moreover, he confirmed that Kurt Russell did not direct the film, but what Kurt Russell was the driving force behind the movie getting done. He wasn't the director. He did not direct it. People who keep saying that, he says, no, he was not. Cosmatos did his job as the director. He was on set directing. But Kurt Russell was the guy that made sure things were getting done. And he worked beyond the expectations of what his actual job was. And he also confirmed that there was a real friendship between Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer on set, that the two of them really became buddies and liked to hang out together. Oh, we lost somebody. What happened?
Deleted scenes popped out, came back.
Oh, okay. There he is.
This was before the Kilmer's divorce, or was that the
Yeah,
start?
this is before that. The divorce happened during Batman because he'd been fooling around with what's her name, talk show host now,
Debbie Mazur.
No, the girl from E.T.
Drew Barrymore.
Yeah,
Really?
Good for him
Yeah.
in 1993.
Was that 93? I thought it was 95.
Tombstone, I
Wasn't
think it's
that-
93. His
was it-
marriage breaks up
Mm.
right around the same time. It's
And he-
it's on the rocks right
and he
now.
ended it by fax. Is another one that supposedly
That's
is
cool.
how that happened.
That's how I would like to end the next one if I ever get married again.
But it's not the only one that ended that way. I heard another relationship ended by fax.
That was Phil Collins, wasn't it?
I think that might have been it. I think it might have been Phil Collins whose marriage ended by fax.
Was it his publicist, him, or his lawyer who sent it? Could you imagine? It's like, well, I wish you luck in your future endeavors.
Hey, Phil got a
Hey,
couple
Brandon.
albums out of it.
Hey, Brandon's
so-
here. We got the Trek reviewer here too.
Hello, hail
Radioactive is
Brandon,
on scene. Everybody, make sure to put on your radioactive pins. Make sure that you're not getting too many rads.
Did you say hi to the onion?
To the onion.
Oh, yes.
John
John
Chipola.
Chipola.
Oh, Chipola's here. Yeah, I did not see that one. That one slipped by. What's up, John?
Hello,
How you doing?
everybody
Hope you're
over
having a
on
good
my channel.
weekend.
I guess he slipped in
Happy
by the back
Saturday.
door.
And it is. And just as a reminder, if you're seeing these on other people's streams, just remember this is Pop Culture Minefield. This is our Saturday show. We are just letting our friends stream, so it helps their numbers. And
Gracias.
hope you're enjoying the show. So here we go. We got a few minutes before we have to start the slideshow. How long is the slideshow, Martin?
An hour, 7 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad at all. So we can go a
That's
little longer.
short.
Yeah, we can go a little longer. But
All-
I'm already
all slideshows.
making the. They should be. I don't know. I think it should be about an hour and 30 minutes.
No, I make them like an hour and 10 in average, so we can have 20 minutes of preface and 20 minutes of later discussion.
Okay. All good. Yes, Saturday. Painted my garage today. Faded bad, but all good now. Well, that's fantastic, dude.
This movie also has one of the best no scenes in all of the no scenes in cinema history.
Oh,
Because he
yes,
just
that's
keeps
true.
going no over and over again.
And I'm going to tell you, there are certain incidents in this film are actually what happened. And it's kind of shocking how accurate it is. And the shootout at the river is fairly accurate to how it happened. Also, the shootout at the OK Corral. Technically, it wasn't. They call it the shootout at the OK Corral. It was actually in the alley behind it, and they were accurate in how they depicted that. It's not in the corral; it's in the alleyway. They're fairly accurate in the incidents that take place. But one of my favorite moments is when, as they're walking towards the OK Corral, there's a scene of a schoolhouse burning. And as much as I would love to say that that's what happened that day, it is not what happened that day. The schoolhouse burning down took place, I think, a week or two later. But the fact that they decided to put it in there visually gives it the look like they're walking out of hell. And I thought it was a visually brilliant moment of the film. That school burning in the background, them walking towards the corral. It gives you the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse feel, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
It certainly heightens the dramatic effect of them walking down a dusty street towards an alleyway next to a boarding house, which is the reality of what they're doing. And to make it a dramatic moment, putting that burning building behind them is brilliant.
Mm.
And I'm going to bet that came up in research, right? They read that week's Tombstone epitaph. Wasn't that the name of the local paper? And it's like schoolhouse burns down was like the second story after like weirdos, lawmen and cowboys shoot it out behind the OK Corral.
There were technically 2 newspapers. And this is important. There were 2 newspapers that printed in Tombstone. There was enough of a populace there for them to have 2 newspapers. And I tell people all the time that divisive political stances is nothing new. It goes all the way back to the formation of this country. And there was muckraking at one point in the 1800s. You remember that stuff? Muckrakers. And then you had some of the most vile shit being said about competing politicians. Jefferson referred to one man as a transvestite. And it gets even worse. I mean, that's how the shooting took place between Burr and what's his face?
Hamilton.
It's just a lot of mudslinging at each other. It got ugly in the papers. And it was no different. In the late 1800s, you had 2 newspapers. You had the Telegraph and the Epitaph. And one was conservative and the other one was liberal. And the liberal newspaper was pro-cowboys. And the Epitaph was pro-law and order and supported the Earps and the former marshal who got murdered. Which they show fairly accurately in the film, because it was Curly Bill Brocious, and he was turning over his weapon, and the way it was written in the newspaper is that the gun went off while he was handing his weapons over. And he's handing his weapons over with the barrels pointed at him instead of the way he should have handed them over handle first. And he did a modified railroad switch, which I learned that one as a kid with my dad, handling pistols. He showed me how to do the railroad switches, which is you roll it in your hand, flip and roll it, and then you go to hand it to the person. And as you're handing it to the person, you flip it and fire. It's a quick movement. And he did a modified version of that. And there's so much accuracy. But again, there was competing newspapers. You had the Telegraph and you had the Epitaph. And the Epitaph was supporting of law enforcement. And just imagine that. It is a political line in that town. Sheriff B. Hinn was supported by the Telegraph, and the Earps were supported by the Epitaph. And yes, they keep it out of the film. It's not in the film, but there was a long trial after the shootout. Yep. And of course, they were exonerated. But it was an ugly, brutal trial. And part of it was done in public, the public, what do they call it? The court of public opinion. Where
the newspapers. The
newspapers were battling it out.
Were absolutely battling it out. And it was a close run thing in the courtroom.
Were the factional lines still left over? I mean, I know we're 15 years out from the end when this movie takes place, but
it's never
are there
gone away.
still So, no, I mean, what was the factionalism from left over from like Civil War factionalism? Because, for instance, I believe Doc Holliday does have some affiliation with the Confederacy.
Yeah, he was a Southerner. He was a Southerner. So.
I
And by the way,
that
the
had anything
accent
to
that
do
he
with
does in this is a very generalized Southern accent that is more akin to Foghorn Leghorn than it is Georgia.
It's great.
Yes,
though.
it is.
I'll say,
Yes, it
boy.
So what's your take on what actually happened? Is it, are you completely one side, or is it more like things got a little muddled because of all the shit that went down?
First of all, they were supposed to have been disarmed. Sheriff Bean said they were disarmed. It was a lie. And they went to enforce a law that they had within the town. They said, like it said, it's a whole gun control issue. And they felt that, look, you can own your guns, but when you're coming into town, we want peaceful behavior. So we're going to disarm you. Well, again, law enforcement is allowed to have their weapons, but not the citizenry. So
it was increasingly common as the Wild West became the West. And in the late 19th century, that cities began to implement, no carrying of arms ordinances. It's in Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood movie. I mean, that's what the sheriff is enforcing. That's why, that's his beef with the guys who have been sent to, on the contract. But the point is, I agree with you. I like Robert Heinlein's statement: an armed society is a polite society, and disarming everybody. And
what was that comedian? He said, when you get on an airplane, everybody should be handed a gun.
Yeah. The thing about it is that while the incident itself, the shootout, was in fact over a misdemeanor, basically a civil
It was
ordinance.
A misdemeanor, and it did not need to escalate. They escalated it.
Right, exactly. It was basically a parking ticket. And but the problem is that there was a history. I mean, obviously, like the shooting of the marshal by Curley. Yep. I mean, the Cowboys had definitely developed a very bad reputation in town. Yep. And for the Earps to say this has got to end it was a straw that broke the camel's back. Is really what led to the shootout in the alley. It was a straw that broke camel's back. It wasn't the only incident. It was a collection of things, and whether the town should have had the ordinance or not, Cowboys were. I mean, hell, you just need to look up the history of the range wars out west, as the cattle drives started running into fenced properties. Look at the movie Young Guns, where Billy the Kid became famous. Yeah, I mean, but the point is that the Cowboys, the early Westerns romanticized the cowboy. The fact of the matter is that cowboys, the guys who drove cattle long distance from places like Texas all the way to Kansas to send them to to sell them at market.
A lot of them were part-time rustlers too.
Yes. I mean, and half of the lawmen had been murderers before.
They'd
That's
go
why they were good enough with a gun.
On one location, and then as the cattle were being moved again, they go steal them.
Yeah, I know.
It's a fact of history. By the way, we have Phantom Outsider is here. I wanted to welcome to the show. To paraphrase Jefferson said, lacked the strong qualities of a man and also didn't have the virtuousness of a lady. And that's what it was. But it's basically the same thing. Let's see. The main reason for the ban was these guys, and this is a good parsing right here. I like what you're doing here. These guys would drink and then get into arguments, and then someone would get shot. Lack of self-control was the problem. And this is where they made their mistake. Instead of when you come into town, it should have been turn your weapons in at a bar. You know, and if you're not drunk, you can have them back at the end of the evening. If you're drunk, you get them back tomorrow morning.
Yep.
It's a simple rule. That way it's not, affecting the whole town.
It's like drinking.
That was where they overstepped. It is where they overstepped.
It would be like if you implemented it like a drinking and driving law.
Yeah.
You can't carry a gun if you're hanging out in the bar drinking. and that probably would have been better. But
They
that
should
isn't.
confiscate car keys from people in bars.
Yeah.
Hey, we have Scribelet in the house.
Hey, Scribe, what's up, buddy? I hope everybody's having a wonderful Saturday. And I wanted to point out some other historical facts before we get into this film. Another one that's important. You'll notice that Wyatt Earp never gets shot. This is a historical fact. Every single person around him got hit, including Doc Holliday. Everybody got shot, except for him. His clothing would get shot. He never got shot. I think one of the most famous ones was at the river. There was several bullet holes in his duster. None in him. That guy was the luckiest bastard.
Do you remember what Kurt Russell said about that in an interview?
No,
he said at the gunfight at the OK Corral, he was the only one. Wyatt Earp was the only man who didn't move. And he was the only man who didn't get shot. He said, so if you ever find yourself in a gunfight, don't move.
Stand your ground.
Yep.
They have the same pound code in Unforgiven, so I don't know if it was that uncommon. No, they did the same thing in Dodge City. That's brought up in the film. He had created the same rule or law in Dodge City when he was marshaled there. If they
don't we see
car keys, yes, I agree with that, Phantom Outsider. I agree with that. What were you going to say, Teague?
I was going to say, don't we see like that there's like 2 or 3 layers of law enforcement in this town, and one layer of law enforcement is just not doing its job and a little too lackadaisical, and that's what starts a lot of this trouble, and that's why they layer on the Earp level of law enforcement.
Well, there's also resentment towards the Earps too, because while they're trying to, and by the way, they flip it in the film. They make it out like his brother became the marshal. No, it's not actually what happened. Wyatt Earp became marshal before anybody else, and they followed suit. They changed it for dramatic purposes. That's not what happened. But they get called pimps in the movie, and it's factually true. Yes. They ran the bar, which included all the bar's prostitution. They turned a profit from the prostitution. So the Earp brothers were pimps, as well as they ran
professional gamblers,
a professional gambling ring there in the bar, and they took profits from the bar itself.
Hey man, did you ever see the rules of their card game? How simple that card game was. The dumbest person in the world could play that card game.
Oh, what is that game?
They call it Pharaoh, but it's high card.
That was it.
That's what we would call it high card. Each player draws 1 card. It's not a very complicated game.
Yeah, and of course, Doc Holliday hated that game. He considered poker an honest game.
Yeah, because they're playing high card. It was like flipping a coin to see who would win.
Yeah,
exactly.
50-50.
It's the difference is, and Holliday was very good at it, is that poker is a game where you're not playing against your opponent's cards, you're playing against your opponent.
Yep.
Whereas in roulette or high card, you are basically playing the luck of the draw. But in poker, no, you're actually playing everybody else at the table. And that's because you can bluff. You can't bluff in high card. You can bluff in poker. And that's key to being a good poker player, is being able to read your opponents, know when you can bluff and when you can't. Because you'll never make money at poker if you rely on the draw.
Right. I simplified it a lot. I think like you get 2 or 3 cards, you could throw 1 or 2 back, and then everyone plays high card. So it was like a 2-step high card. But you're right. There was no skill. Even like for Doc Holliday, even if someone's sort of cheating, if you're playing poker, you can start to like maybe compensate. High card's high card.
Yep.
Yeah. And by the way, because you guys are bringing this up, and I find this interesting in the chat, that it's the same principle when you're in a rainstorm. When you walk in a rainstorm, you're less wet by the time you reach your distance than if you ran. And it's the same thing, because you have a better chance of running into more rain when you run. And it's the same thing when you're moving, you have a better chance of running into something than if you're standing still. And there is a pure logic to that. And it's factually logical. And I love that. I'm your Huckleberry, you damn Skippy.
I love that part of the movie. But let me just ask you, Gary. These guys, the bullets are around, but they're using cap and ball revolvers, right? Highly inaccurate, explaining some of the people being missed so conspicuously, even at fairly close range.
Well, this is post-Civil War. And by the way, they served in the Civil War.
81, I think.
Yep.
And they started having bullets at this point. So bullets did exist. They were not using classic cap and ball. They were using actual charged rounds, bullets in the shootout.
Cartridges.
Yeah, these were cartridges.
But something to keep in mind, because I've handled them, they're using a Colt single action where you have to cock the hammer and then pull the trigger in order to fire the gun. This is before
Don't
Smith
be
and Wesson.
rusty pulling that one off. Alec Baldwin found that out.
Exactly. But the key to this is they're not actually 6 shooters. They're 5 shooters. Because
the rounds
it's mentioned
are so
in the
big.
movie, why don't you load the chamber underneath the hammer? Because I don't want to shoot my own foot off. I don't know if it's this
My
movie or
police
another one,
officer
but
father didn't load the first cylinder either, in case someone took the gun off of him.
right. So the point
Now,
is
the
that
movie opens with some stock footage here. I wanted
Yes.
to point this out while we're here. And
Yeah,
some
and
of it's
Bob Mitchum.
actually, this is, and Robert Mitchum is the narrator of this film. And I love that. I love Mitchum's voice.
Yep.
And
Making a comeback.
you
at
got
the end
some
of his life.
classic stock footage from old movies. And they even have the famous footage from the train robbery, which is the cowboy aiming the gun at the camera. Also, the Great Train Robbery is the first film that had a pan in it, where you panned left to right. And they didn't believe that it was possible to do that at the time. They thought it would all be blurred.
They
were
invented it
learning
to get
about
Jennifer
film.
Lawrence in the shot, right?
Yeah, it was all to get Jennifer Lawrence because, she was the first actress ever in film.
She
As
looks
well
good
as
for her
ancient
age.
Greek theater.
This
she
shot
does
right
look
here,
great.
that scene right there, that's from the Great Train Robbery too. It's a silent film, and it's a great Western. If you've never seen it, you should see it.
Yeah, and Gary, there's a very good chance that Wyatt Earp personally was a consultant on some of this footage.
He was in Hollywood. In fact, there's a movie by Blake Edwards about Wyatt Earp and Hopalong Cassidy, played by Bruce Willis and James Garner. And it's the second time James Garner has played Wyatt Earp. And if you've never seen it, Sunset is a great film. And Charlie Chaplin, or a facsimile of Charlie Chaplin, which is played by Malcolm McDowell, is the villain in the film.
By the way,
Lots
the
of
entire
TV
cast
people show up
for
in
this movie, the entire cast for this movie is fucking amazing.
Oh, it is.
It's some of the best
Yeah.
casting I've ever seen.
Couple of cheesy people, but they're good.
And this movie starts off. I just want to say, this first scene in this Mexican town with the Red Sash gang, the Cowboys, leaves you in absolutely no doubt. These are the bad guys.
Oh yeah,
Michael Biehn nails that shut really authoritatively with that one bullet.
Yep.
And the sick horse story was great. It's like, it's not Spanish, you idiot. It's Latin.
You heathen. Calls him a heathen.
Your Spanish is worse than your English.
It's
Now,
it's
one
a very-
thing I do like that was an interesting casting choice in this is Joanna Pacula as Big Nose Kate, because a lot of people don't know that she was actually from overseas. She was Polish. The real Kate.
Isn't it
Hungarian.
Father, isn't Anna
Was she
Pacula's
Hungarian? I thought
father
she
a
was
director?
Polish.
Hungarian.
What's this? What was your question?
Isn't Anna Pacula like second generation Hollywood? Didn't her father direct?
I don't know. I just know she's not from America.
I got it.
What was that?
IMDb. Joanna Pacula was born in 1957 in a town I cannot possibly pronounce in Poland.
Oh, I was
Wow,
right.
okay.
Yep.
No,
Poland.
Joanna. No, Joanna is Poland. Big Nose was
No,
Hungarian.
I'm talking about Joanna Paculus from Poland.
I thought you were talking about the character. Sorry.
No, I was talking about the actress. I've been to that studio location in Mexico. I had wished that they had shot this at my favorite Western studio, which is Old Tucson, because I spent a lot of my childhood there. That was my Disneyland when I was a kid, was going to Old Tucson. And it burned down 3 times since I was a kid. And they keep rebuilding it because it's such a great tourist location, and movies still love to shoot there. John Wayne made a lot of Westerns there. So did Heston, Gregory Peck, all the greats.
Made me sad they did the Westworld TV series. That was the last thing before it burnt down most recently.
No one rebuilt the Spawn movie ranch, historic as it now is.
Well, Roddy McDowell. Oh, you mean Malcolm McDowell was a faux Charlie Chaplin. Gotcha. Yeah, his character is loosely based on Charlie Chaplin. And Charlie Chaplin, you know, as much as we love his films and stuff and his creativity, he was kind of a scumbag. Yeah, he rolls out the sashes here.
Gary?
What's that?
Do you think that this is intentional, that it's so much like the beginning of High Noon? You know, the sheriff's getting married, and like Frank Miller's just there a lot earlier. Though you know what I mean? It's sort of the same scenario, but doesn't work out at all.
It could have been inspired by that, without a doubt. But this is a great scene because these are the federales. These are Mexican federal marshals. And we're seeing the long reach of the cowboy, that they'll go down south of the border and challenge law down there. That's how brazen they were. And my dad, you know, was a historian. You know, he was a great teacher of history. And he did not know some of the things that we would learn later, that yes, there really was Johnny Ringo. He always thought Johnny Ringo was a Hollywood invention. But come to find out, with all the research, Johnny Ringo really did exist. He was a real person, and he was a problem for the Earps. And, of course, Curly Bill Brocious was sort of the leader of the gang. And, you know, it's interesting when you see the competition between these two groups, because they both tried to use the law in their favor, one being that of federal law and the other being state law or regional law. And the cowboys tried to use regional law, and they would be deputized. And, you know, and depending on who you talk to, Sheriff Bean was a great lawman. To others, he was a corrupt politician. You know, the first gunfight was right here in Springfield, Missouri, where I'm at. Wild Bill Hickok shot a man right here, downtown Springfield, with his long Colt, man. He shot him from one corner of the square to the other corner, which is almost 3/4 of a football field, with a pistol. Shot him and killed him. And that was the first gunfight of the Old West, right here in Springfield. And the end of the Old West was at the OK Corral. And it became so romanticized that really was the birth of real entertainment in this country.
It's interesting that you bookend it with those, because one thing I've seen or heard one historian say was that the reason that Wild Bill Hickok was so dangerous with a pistol was because he would take the time, even while being shot at, to aim and fire.
Yep.
And that was why
he was not quick.
No, he was not
good.
A fast draw. He was simply deadly when he fired.
That's right.
And if you
didn't
get him first,
he had a long barreled pistol too.
Yeah,
longer than everybody else's. Yep. He had that long barrel, man. And that was very accurate.
Yep.
Oh my God. His performances, Curly Bill Brocious, is one of the best in Western history. But this film, and Kurt Russell just said this in an interview a couple weeks ago. He said, look, both films came out close together, Wyatt Earp and Tombstone.
Mhm.
And he says, they're both great films, but he says, but only one of those films has some of the most memorable, quotable lines.
I'm your Uncle Barry.
Yeah. Well, that and Curly Bill Brocious' line, "Well, bye.
Bye.
That's a meme.
Play for blood, and I don't see no lighter up there too.
You know Daisy. You're no Daisy at all.
Yeah. No, this
one of my
movie,
favorite lines in the film is only in the director's cut, which is when he Doc's about to leave to go on his magnificent ride with Wyatt Earp, and he turns to Big Nose Kate and he says, "You got any last words for your loving man?" "Nope, guess not." Right. Accuracy trumps speed. You got that right, Phantom. And again, I want to say, Kay Roberts, you're absolutely right. It is sort of this battle, and it is a police action. What happens here? This is your typical law enforcement moment. You've run into these all the time with law enforcement, and I like that they shot this film more like a police moment than a gun battle, because they put their hands on their weapons. We don't want this, and these are quotes. This is stuff that was actually said at the moment. Wyatt's brother did say that. "We don't want this. We just came to disarm you."
The other Wyatt Earp movie, I think, tells us about the trial. The place next door was at a photography studio. It was full of people. They heard a lot of the conversation. So we weren't taking the word of
there were witnesses all over the street standing there.
Right.
And inside
we weren't taking the word of any of the participants.
I believe one of the buildings next to where the gunfight happened was a boarding house that Doc Holliday lived in. So there were people in the building right next to it. And there were obviously, there were people all over the street when it happened. Hopefully not in the line of fire. I mean, unless
they're out of the line of fire, but there were people watching.
Right?
There were tons of witnesses. Now, I'm going to point out something else I love about this movie. Okay. Westerns have a tendency of giving you bland colors for clothing, and it's not true. This movie brought the color back to the clothing, because these people wore very beautifully colored clothing. And look at that shirt he's wearing there, bright red. You get purple.
That's a lot of work technically for the crew to have red clothing. They try to stay away from that in most wardrobe notes.
And the only thing that I don't have a problem with it in this is the lingo. So much as you get movies like Open Range, which absolutely embraces how people spoke in the 1800s. And it's got great lines in it when he called, the guy that played Wyatt Earp in the other movie, Costner, turns to Duvall and calls him a bucket mouth. This is one of my favorite lines from that movie. Stopping by to bump the algorithm.
Things in Deadwood.
Well, DJ, thanks, man. Thanks for popping in. Dude, I appreciate it. Leave a comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you're not subscribed. And by the way, if you are subscribed, make sure to double check you're still subscribed, because YouTube is bumping people and they're not getting their updates like they're supposed to. Lady V is here too, by the way. Everybody give her a big hello.
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 Yeah, she's cheating though, because she's on the other channel, not on Pop Culture.
Oh, watching over on Teague's channel.
Yeah. She likes to feel like a god, so she chooses the channel that has the least chat activity.
By the way, I wanted to tell you something, Anima, that
concession stand. We have the best snack stand.
Oh, is that what it is? We'll get better
free
snacks
sodas at my cinema.
I love
Anima,
the comparison.
I wanted to tell you the bib shirt that Quigley wears in Quigley Down Under is actually a shirt made famous by John Wayne.
Yep. I love the comparison to Deadwood, because one of the things I read not long ago in terms of, again, historical accuracy is that The literacy rate in the late 19th century in the United States was over 90%. So
people were much better read in the 1800s than they are today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people
don't
had a
doubt that.
vocabulary because they read books, and Deadwood does the same thing. And I remember Mrs. Redford saying, "Did people really talk like this? Like they swallowed a thesaurus?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, they did."
Anyone who's ever
Have you ever read Letters of the Civil War?
Yes.
Right. He's got
read some of those letters from those soldiers that served in the Civil War, and from the South and North. Amazingly well-read, well-spoken people.
Or going back a little further, Joseph Plum Martin's account of the American War for Independence. He was everybody in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century was like an awesome writer. And a dedicated diarist. We have a lot of accounts because of that.
Yep. And we fucking ruined it all for TV and internet.
My daughter my daughter is fluent in emoji.
The future alien archaeologists are gonna like have Facebook and Twitter, and they're gonna be like, at some point, the society just went insane.
By the way, I do want to say, I made a joke at my daughter's expense. I'm going to tell you something. And Anima's gotten to talk to my daughter. My daughter is very well spoken, and she is a grammar Yahtzee, just like her dad. And I love that about her. She'll correct people politely. She'll correct him. I think what you meant was.
Yeah, but I like the way they did things in Deadwood is that they changed the swearing so it made sense to us, but they kept the verbiage as eloquent as it would be, along with all the vile swearing.
Well, a lot of people don't know that the F word did exist back then, but it was not prevalent. Certain people spoke that way. Very few use that kind of language, that blue language. They had other words at that period of time. You got to remember, like, gosh, up to the 20th century, into the 20th century, taking the Lord's name in vain was serious.
Yep.
And
it was jail time.
People just didn't do
Jamestown.
it. Yeah. You had to be careful what you said. You could get in trouble, be arrested for bad language. And so bad language wasn't existent the way they show in movies.
We would all be in jail for a very long time if we reappeared in like 1790.
Absolutely, Phantom. I like this Phantom person. I hope you become a regular.
He's great with the information.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Thank you. And I'm not shitting on anybody else in the chat. I'm just really impressed with Phantom Outsider right now. Really good information. I mean, he knew what I was talking about when I brought that shit up about Jefferson. It's like, holy shit, he knows what I'm talking about. Oh my God.
Yeah. Nowadays, it seems that if you're actually educated, people regard you with suspicion and contempt.
Yeah.
That's very true.
How dare you throw facts at me?
Yeah.
How dare you use the definition of an actual word that I'm misusing?
No, words only mean what I want them to, not what they actually mean.
Yeah, and if you correct somebody's English, you're a grammar Yahtzee.
Yeah, and I am one. I admit it. By the way, I do love this scene with Kurt Russell and the family, and they stand in front of that window. It's one of my favorite moments in the film when they all pose in front of that window, because it's like that's the last happy moment they're going to have in this film.
Gary, you may be a grammar Yahtzee, but in reality, you're just a dick.
It's true. I'm so much of one. My middle name is Richard.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, he's a dick in the way Team America is one.
Amen. What was that? Oh, that last comment. It's still a spectacle characteristic, in my opinion. What is she referring to?
Not cursing, I think.
Oh, yeah. It's like I tell people my mouth didn't get blue until I was in the Army, and I found useful ways of using the F word, just so many different ways. And I remember one time I yelled at somebody, and two of the guys were staring at me when I was done, and they said, "I don't think you used any other word but the F word in that whole sentence." I'm like, I know I did, but
this is kind of the problem: is we give it We give it prominence because it literally is the F word. In other words, it's the word F is most associated with now, and we've given it the most importance. Because otherwise, if Frank was the most important word, that would be the F word. But it's not.
I love Wyatt's wife. She is so smoking hot. And was it? I don't remember the name of the model, but I think she was dating Clapton when they made this.
Who are we talking about, Teague?
The model actress who plays Wyatt Earp's wife, this chick here, Maddie Blaylock, is that her name?
Yeah, she plays Maddie Blaylock. It's Dana Wheel Nicholson. I hate her as an actor because she looks like one of my ex-girlfriends. No, I'm saying because she looks just like my ex. And
that's the kind of pain I'd like to deal with, honestly, firsthand.
And she was absolutely batshit crazy. And so when her character, even in this movie, reminds me of my ex, the way she behaves. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just so skeevy to me. Makes my skin crawl.
Morpheus, or whatever it was.
He was just, I just don't want to go into it. I don't want to go into it. What's important here is that she portrays this character in a way that is actually meant for you to dislike her because she's weak. She's timid and weak. Hot. And she answers questions in a backhanded way. Like when he asks her, what would you like to do? And I don't know. I'm good, blah, blah, blah. He goes, well, what do you think about just traveling the world and living on room service? And she just mockingly laughs at him. What a stupid thing to want to do. And he had just done the exact same thing to the actress that he ends up falling in love with.
Yep.
And he did because he's like, that's just stupid, and she does the exact same thing. And then he feels the same thing that she must have felt. I love the writing in that. This is a great film. I'm serious on so many levels.
There's so many. There's one thing also about her weakness is it was just on the screen. Laudanum. For those that don't know, laudanum is basically opium dissolved in alcohol.
Dissolved in alcohol. That's right.
And it is amongst the most addictive things that had ever been invented in the 19th century.
Right, it was sitting next to the bubble gum and candy in the Old West store. It's like, would you like some laudanum? Would you like some tobacco? Maybe some candy for the 10-year-old. Didn't matter. Okay. It was all legal.
My favorite is
the Cowboys
is when somebody's reading the ingredients of certain things from period, and the character says, "Well, you can't be giving that to your kids. It's got alcohol in it." He goes, "No, look at the ingredients." He looks at the ingredients and starts saying what's in it. And like one of them is cocaine. He goes, "Nope, no alcohol. Okay, it's good. Give them to the kid."
It's just a Coca-Cola.
Yep.
It's got cocaine in it. It's fine.
No, it's natural. Not cocaine. It's cocaine.
Cocaine.
What is this?
Cola, please.
Oh, also, why going after the guy that mistreated that? I actually do love that too. A good horse could absolutely, and I guarantee you, somebody like Wyatt Earp demanded respect for his animals. He wouldn't have allowed that. Anybody who lived in the West that relied on their horses would treat them like royalty.
Horse thieving was capital punishment.
Like Kilmer's best role since Real Genius, absolutely, because both films have some of Val Kilmer's most quotable lines.
I have to say, I think this is Val Kilmer's best role, period.
And Cam, I'm going to do one right now. You need to watch today's show because it's a moral imperative.
Comes off your time in hell.
One of my other favorite ones from Real Genius. Of course he believed it because you're naive, Mitch. I'm a cynic. What's my excuse?
And this is very typical of their relationship. I do like this scene. By the way, that's Frank Stallone that he's playing cards against. Sly Stallone's brother.
Oh man, Norm Macdonald
I was
must have
shocked
loved this movie.
If you make a Val Kilmer supercut of this, it's under 20 minutes.
God, I love Kilmer in that fucking cup.
Oh,
he
that's
does the
badass.
coin thing, right? He does the coin thing in this movie, right? That he does also in Real Genius.
Yes.
He
Right.
does all kinds of. You'll always catch him doing little things. It's like what's his name? Sam Rockwell always dances in movies. Val Kilmer's always doing shit with his fingers.
Yep.
Yeah, he could flip a quarter or a pen.
He
between
can
his fingers
roll
perfectly.
coins.
Mhm.
He twirls things between his fingers. Just a physical genius. I miss him acting. We're never going to get him back because his religion wouldn't allow him to take chemo.
Yeah.
That sucks.
What
He did that
Val
coin thing
Kilmer-
all the way back in that
He
high
broke
school
down
movie.
and did it. He broke down and did it, but it was so far too late. And I can say, even I on Twitter was like, Val, just go to a doctor. He's like, nope. I made some real progress praying today. And I'm like, no, just please go to the doctor. Wouldn't do it. And now I see Prince of Egypt, and I'm like, man, we're never going to hear that voice again.
Never
Nope.
again. Kilmer was a heartthrob in this one, though, at kind of a heartthrob, but he's also a man's man, just like Wyatt is. Wyatt, oddly, more, Kurt Russell, more than fucking Sam Elliott, is a man's man in this movie.
Yep. But what I was going to say,
Big
what I
Nose
was gonna
Kate,
say,
Roberts.
go
It's
back-
Big Nose Kate.
Yeah. Can we go back to just one other thing about Kilmer? One of the things that made Val Kilmer a fantastic actor was, yes, he would flip a pen or he would roll a coin or whatever. But that in acting, that's called business. You're doing business in the shot or on
business
stage.
acumen. Yeah.
Right. And well, no. It's okay. If you do it when you're not the focus of the shot, you're upstaging people.
Yep.
You're fiddling with something when you're supposed to be standing still and letting them take the shot and play the scene. Kilmer had so many things he could do as business that meant that you'd pay attention to him when he was sitting still in a chair, not saying anything, but for example, he'd be rolling that coin in his hand. And that would make you pay attention.
Gun. The camera moves right across the midsection of his body so we can see what he's doing with, I think it's a quarter in that case, or is it the pen? And then Tom Cruise walks in and they start their exchange. But he's messing around and we see him sitting there silently for about 10 seconds first doing that.
Yep. And that's something that you can't buy as a director of a movie or a director of a play, is an actor.
Well,
that can
there's another.
Do that.
You bring this up and it reminds me of a great story. One of the actors from Cool Hand Luke was a gentleman by the name of Struther Martin. And Struther was in a scene with Jimmy Stewart on a TV show because he was on his TV show, his co-star. And Struther is doing the scene with him, and he's got a pencil in one hand and a ball of string in the other. And Jimmy walks in and then turns to the director and he says he can only have one of those items. If he has both of those items in his hands, nobody will notice I'm in the scene. And that's a fact about these kinds of actors, is that they can accidentally upstage. Now, Steve McQueen's another good case of this, because that's what led to the feud between him and Yul Brynner, is he kept fiddling with shit in scenes where he's not delivering dialogue while other people are doing their scenes. And Yul Brynner got pissed at him about it. And it came to fisticuffs at one point. And, because Steve McQueen kept fiddling with his pistol or his hat, and it just pissed Yul Brynner off. And he says he's doing it on purpose. Tell him to stop. And later they would bury the hatchet when McQueen was dying. He called Yul Brynner to because Charles Bronson was the olive branch. Bronson was the one who kept them working together in the making of the movie, and then later was the one who got them to bury the hatchet when McQueen was dying. But McQueen was kind of a shitheel for doing that kind of stuff. You're upstaging the guy whose scene it was.
And I will say, having been on stage, the one thing I learned early on in musicals is if you can't stop fiddling with your hands and you're not the main part of the scene, stick your hands in your pockets.
Pop. Yep.
Don't upstage other actors, or you will have you will have, quote, words backstage. So it doesn't surprise me that it came to fisticuffs at all, because neither of those guys would ever back down. Yeah.
And Yul Brynner was a notorious narcissist. And, but I think that's required to become a star.
Well, there's certain levels on it. Obviously, you need some level of narcissism to be an artist or, director, or, insert career field here.
Yeah.
But there's a point where it goes from helping you, be about yourself and using that end to where you're a complete SOB to everyone.
Well, I think Kurt Russell's is legit. Cycle Man, I'm pretty sure that Kurt Russell's is legit.
Well, we need to do that movie, by the way, the one I was just bringing up, which is the not the Wild Bunch. What was it? The other Western, Magnificent Seven, which was a remake of the Seven Samurai.
Yes.
And I'd like to do that film too, but I really like doing Westerns.
Best theme song of any Western, maybe, for Magnificent
Seven?
Yeah,
it's in my head right now. It's in my head.
Yep. I can hear it. I can hear it right now.
I'll tell
I
one
hate it when
story.
that happens, man.
I'll tell one
I've
story
made it
about
to the break of the song.
One story that convinced the story about Kurt Russell is that he was asked by a director he wanted to do a movie. The movie was Soldier, which wasn't well received. I happen to really like the movie.
I love that movie.
And Kurt said, "Fine, I'll be ready in 18 months." And the director said, "What do you mean 18 months?" He says, "Because I have to get in shape." So the director
he wouldn't
said,
do steroids.
Yeah, he wouldn't do steroids. He was going to go in the gym. He was going to legitimately ripped. The director's like, "Well, what am I going to do for the next 18 months?" He says, "Well, let's make a different movie together in the meantime, and then I'll go to the gym."
Doesn't he make the director makes Event Horizon, right? It's Paul Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I don't think Mila is Paul Anderson, because there's Paul S. Anderson and Paul W. Anderson. So don't ask me which one it is.
Yeah. But when he did Soldier, that was 100% him. So to ask, is that mustache on him real? I'm willing to bet that mustache is 100%.
Oh, he grew that mustache. No, there's no doubt, because he came on Johnny Carson one night, and I think Johnny was still doing it. It might have been Leno when he took over. It was 92, and he was talking about having the mustache, and he goes, "Does Goldie like that?" And he goes, "No, Goldie does not like the mustache."
Yeah, but funny thing is, he was originally going to be an athlete, and then he got an injury.
Well, he was an athlete.
You're right, by the way. Johnny's gone. He leaves in 92.
Yeah.
Wait, Johnny what?
It's the type. Johnny Carson's gone off the Tonight Show. It was Jay Leno by that point. And
it might have been 92 before he left, and so I'm not sure, but I know that Kurt Russell came on there to talk about one of his films, and he had the mustache, and that became the subject. And it was asked, "What was Goldie think of that?" And she doesn't like it.
I think the source of the confusion is maybe there was a reshoot for 1 second with a fake mustache, but it's real in 99%, if not all.
Oh, he grew that mustache. There's no question.
They may have extended.
Oh, you're talking about like a pickup shot, right?
There may have been pickups later where he had moved on to the soldier role, and they had to just put one on him. And maybe early on in the film, they might have early on in production, they may have extended the mustache a little bit from the length that he had gotten to. But
it is a side cool because the co-writer of Blade Runner wrote it, and they knowingly and intentionally put Blade Runner stuff in it, like some of his battles.
Now,
he
fought Soldier. Yes, I'd heard
Tannhauser Gate. Also, there's a police spinner in the junk pile there on the planet.
And wasn't the scene where he's where they throw him away on the planet, wasn't that originally in Blade Runner a scene for Batty?
Not that I remember.
It was one of the ones that they never filmed, but it was like storyboarded.
The planet they dump him on looks exactly like the Blade Runner environment, but from the book Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. It's all like red blowing dust and stuff.
See, everything connects back to Blade Runner. Aren't you happy,
Yeah.
Gerry?
And Star Trek.
Blade Trek, make it happen.
And in this movie, 90210 is going to make an appearance.
Yeah.
And Northern Exposure.
I tell you, this sheriff, if this sheriff could give you change for a $9 bill in threes. That's the
depiction
county
of him, because there are those, like I said, in the town that felt he was a very good sheriff. It's the other half. That's who we're seeing the version of. Felt that he was a corrupt. They were all kind of corrupt.
Oh yeah,
they were all corrupt because the Earps won a lot of property from people losing at their tables, and they show that in the film.
Yes,
and some of the things they're doing, I consider criminal. And in real life, Wyatt Earp was in one of the biggest scandals of the time, where he had worked with another man, and they had painted lead bars gold. Look that shit up sometime.
Wow.
It was a huge con.
We have a bridge.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I mean, there are very few people who were in the West at the late 1800s that had a lily white background. You could have the best sheriff in town or the best lawman you've heard of, and if you go back 20 years in his career and have a historian do the digging, you're going to find a lot of skeletons in a lot of closets.
Yeah,
we
lots
see
of
that
murder.
in Django Unchained.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not to be mistaken with Harry Carey of the Chicago Cubs. That's the other Harry Carey, the great actor. It was one of his last roles before he died.
Yeah, I think Last Stand at Sabre River was his last film, if I recall correctly.
I love the characterization of the cowboys right in the initial narration. They're the earliest example of organized crime, and they all wear those red sashes.
Overlooking Samuel Adams and the people who started the American War for Independence.
It is really crazy to think that, like, the name of this group would just go on to define, like, the Old West, what we think of as, well, the cowboy.
Oh, we need to pause right now.
They just didn't have a very good name.
We are at the top of the hour, guys. We need to play our little promo for my graphic novel.
Nope.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
And of course, the campaign is still going on that book. And this film absolutely had an impact on mine to where that in book 2 of the series, there are 2 specific scenes that are direct homages to Tombstone. I love this movie. It really is my favorite Western of all time.
Dude.
The only one comes close is The Searchers.
The thing that to me strikes me as the irony of this, with the Cowboys being the villains here, when, as has been said, we tend to think of the Cowboys as the heroes of the Old West, is that's the Hollywood image, that Cowboys were the heroes of the Old West.
Right.
Because the villains were the Indians. So you had cowboys and Indians, and that's what you got in the 50s. And what started to happen in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, with it culminating in, I think this is one of the best movies that probably tried to dramatize a historical event and portray the characters without whitewashing them, without putting white hats on, because look, Wyatt Earp's wearing a black hat. Come on, 1950s. Cowboy hero wears a white hat. Villain wears a black hat. Go look at El Dorado, perfect example. John Wayne movie. They
start reversing it in Josie Wales, right? Would Josie Wales be the turning point?
Yeah, I think actually the spaghetti westerns were, but yeah, Josie Wales as a not a fictional completely made up story with supernatural overtones. Yes, I would agree. Josie Wales is showing that not everybody's a hero, not everybody's a villain. And sometimes the villains turn out to be heroes, and sometimes the heroes turn out to be villains. And in the end,
you can journey from one to the other, as we saw with Terrell becomes progressively more and more evil. Not that he's all that good, and then Josie Wales, he's okay, but he becomes an angel of death, an avenging angel of death.
Avenging angel, exactly. He's very similar to the same character from the other spaghetti western. High Plains Drifter.
High Plains Drifter.
I want to point out in this scene,
if that was an angel, would you just say, "Oh, come on, Gary"? If that character was an angel, he was a fallen angel.
Fallen angel.
The angel in 10 Commandments has a much higher body count.
This is Billy Bob Thornton's second major role. Is playing this guy running the faro table. He was a nobody at this point. But Bill Paxton and he had done a film together, which is really good. And then he got this role of running the faro table, and we get to see Kurt Russell grab him by the ear and drag him out of the bar.
It's a great scene. And all these actors could have been the lead. We have like a good selection of leading talent here, like Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Kurt Russell. Any one of them could have probably been the star of this movie. They're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But you notice one of the things about Earp having, with the experience that he has, is that he spots that the faro dealer is not, he's a bully, not actually a bad guy, which is why he goes and basically takes him out when he's not carrying a pistol on him at the time. Mm-hmm. And he just dope slaps him and throws him out. And then when the guy finds out who he is, he just about pisses himself.
He can't apologize enough. That part's great.
Exactly. He can't apologize.
You gonna you gonna skin that smoke wagon?
Smoke that smoke wagon.
Or just stand there and bleed.
It takes a lot of effort to be the wimpiest person in a town that also has Jason Priestley.
Yep.
Yeah, Jason. Well, Jason's character is meant to be a gay character.
Yeah, him and Billy Zane both have something going on in that department. Yeah. I absolutely agree. But the point, I would say this, his character, whatever his other things are, he was a cooler person who you'd rather spend time with than, you'd rather hang out with him than anyone else in this movie, because any of the other ones might just get nuts or drink some laudanum or decide you were playing Pharaoh wrong. These are volatile people. It's not safe in this town.
Here's the scene. Here's the scene when Billy Bob walks up to shoot Wyatt, and Doc Holliday intervenes by saying his name, and then Wyatt's like, "You can leave that shotgun here," and he goes ahead and goes, "Just put it on the ground.
You may go now. You may go now."
Sorry, I did not realize that you were there.
Wagon.
I forgot.
Oh, Johnny, I apologize.
I forgot you were there.
Oh, and here are two of our other local sophisticates, Turkey Creek Jack Johnson. This part is great. It's great. Like, welcome to Tombstone. I'm the welcoming committee, kooky Doc Holliday. I'm completely insane, and I cough into people's mouths. I can't be a dentist anymore.
I love that they make Bean out to be a dandy.
Yes.
Yeah.
The sheriff, that is, not to be confused with Michael Biehn, who's playing Johnny Ringo.
Right. No, he is trying to lead by example, and this town is going to be a cosmopolitan city very soon.
Best costume in this movie has to go to Powers Booth, though. Those boots with the aces on them. Oh man, he is amazing.
Yep,
his outfit is amazing.
It takes a man with a strong fashion sense to go over the top and still make it work.
They're in Arizona, aren't they?
It's Tombstone, yeah.
Yeah.
It's right outside Bisbee.
And they had to wear woolen costumes, and it was fucking hot. So in one interview, Val Kilmer said, and I think Doc Holliday shot all these people because he got mad because he had to wear wool in the heat.
Now, I want to tell you who you heard the name Jack Johnson in this. You know who that actor is?
Familiar?
Anybody?
Yeah.
Buck Taylor from Bonanza. He's also the old guy that dies out on the range with Costner in Yellowstone. Dies up in the mountains when they're on a long ride. He wakes up in the morning and he's dead. He just died in his sleep. It was one of the most touching moments on Yellowstone when his character died, because he'd been on there for several seasons.
That's hard to believe.
But Buck Taylor's been an old Western. Yeah, it's Billy Zane from Titanic. He survived the Titanic. That's why he's here.
Yeah. Well, he's getting ready he's building up to be the jerk we meet on the Titanic at this point, right?
You realize this took place before the Titanic.
Hey,
and before the
time
movie
travel
Titanic
is real.
As well. That's right.
Yeah, he was in Back to the Future, goddammit. He stole the DeLorean.
This is 1878. You can sue her.
Just after World War II.
I just saw him in another movie last night. He's always a jerk. I hate him as an actor, and I hate the characters he's playing.
He's good in the movie The Beast, where he's actually the hero. I believe he's the hero in that one.
The only movie I've ever really liked him in was Tales from the Crypt, Demon
Night.
Demon Night. Yes. It was the only time I really enjoyed him. I can't stand him in Sniper. And I love that movie. My boss worked on the film, but god damn, man, Billy Zane is such a smarmy, snarky looking motherfucker. I just can't stand him. And his voice.
He's perfect for the roles.
He does have a punchable face.
Absolutely.
You gotta love him in the roles as the jerk. Like in Titanic, he's so despicable. You just want him to not make it.
That movie is why he shaved his head.
Yeah, he had to, because the fans would recognize him too easily and give him shit about playing that character in Titanic. They hated him, so he shaved off his hair.
I got to give him credit, though. That's coming off of a movie like The Phantom, where he looks ridiculous, to give the performance that we get in Titanic. I mean, he relishes playing the bad guy. Good for him.
Yes, he does. I want to, you know what? I'm going to show that video clip, at least part of it. Let's see if I can find it here. Open. There we go. Add the screen. Now, I'm not going to show the whole scene. I want to get to the point where they're outside. I think this is about it right here.
Water. Look at how young Val and Billy Bob look, huh?
Going into business for ourselves, Doc. Well, I just got us a faro game.
Oh. Since when is faro a business?
Didn't you always say that gambling's an honest trade?
No, I said poker's an honest trade.
Hey, are you... There he is. He's walking up now. Here we go.
Only suckers buck the tiger. The odds are all on the house.
Depends on how you look at it. I mean, it's not like anybody's putting a gun to their head now.
That's what I love about Wyatt. He can talk himself into anything. Oh, Johnny, I apologize. I forgot. You were there. You may go now.
Just leave that shotgun.
Goes to hand it to him. It's just, you just don't get a better scene than that.
Yeah, I love the way Kilmer delivers a line. You may go now.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to be more dismissive.
He had the best speaking voice to deliver some of these lines.
And this is really one of the most realistic depictions of what those rooms were like, the saloons that had stages. What's that line he says about banging that devil in the keister? Bang that devil in the keister. Love that line.
And then we get Shakespeare from Billy Zane. Under Fire.
Yeah, he's doing the great
Henry V.
It's Henry V. It's not a soliloquy. It's just a monologue.
It's the big speech. If we are
the
marked
great
to
speech.
die, we do our country no dishonor.
We few, we happy few, we merry band of brothers.
Right. A lot of quotable stuff in there that becomes movie titles in that one speech. I had these wounds on St. Crispin's Day. Is it Agincourt? The battle they're about to fight?
Yeah.
The
Battle of Agincourt.
Thanks, deleted.
Yep.
And this is where Jason Priestley
if you see him in his other film too, the one I keep thinking Open Range, it's not. It's like at Close Range or something like that with Bill Paxton as Small Town Sheriff. That is a great fucking movie.
One false move.
And one false move. And Billy Bob is still a little thick in that one too.
Still had his baby fat on him. He's like 22.
Michael Beach was scary as fuck in that movie. And he doesn't say a damn word. But
very soft spoken. Murderer. Yeah. He's a killer. That final shootout in that film.
Yeah.
Phantoms makes a good point. Yeah, just walk off the PTSD. You'll be okay in 30 or so years.
Okay, coach.
Yeah, this era was really crazy for Westerns because like Unforgiven was like the year before this came out.
Yeah, this movie suffers a little because Unforgiven's shadow is so long. It was not just a great Western, but possibly one of the greatest movies ever made. I prefer it to this one by just a little bit. It's
my third favorite Western. Number 1 is Tombstone. Number 2, Searchers. Number 3, Unforgiven.
My number 1,
Wild Bunch in there.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Wild Bunch is in the top 20. Magnificent Seven is in the top 10. Big Country is like my 4th favorite Western.
Let's see.
Gregory Peck, Charlton Heston, Chuck Connors, Burl Ives. Great fucking movie.
High Plains Drifter. I love that one.
Not that big a fan of that film, Jimmy Stewart. I love the film. Don't get me wrong, but
I think he's great in it. Stewart's performance is incredible. And Deborah Paget looks great.
Ombre is in there. Then comes The Shootist.
I love The Shootist.
And there's another John Wayne movie in there. Oh, yes, Rooster Cogburn, the first one.
Yep.
True Grit.
Is that
the only True Grit last night?
Is Rooster Cogburn the only character he reprises outright? I mean, in the Cavalry trilogy, he's the same guy, but he's a different guy. You know what I mean?
It's a different guy, but he's always wearing the same clothes,
the
same pistol,
guy,
same belt,
same rank.
It was
same
a
rank, belt
thing.
buckle, all that shit.
The last one, I think they make him a colonel because he's like 50. They're like, all right, you don't have to be a sergeant anymore. We can jump you up a few ranks.
Well, they play as two different genres, is why, Tim. They're both Westerns, but they're members of two different subgenres.
And these guys, the cowboy. Sorry, go ahead, Gary.
No, I was just saying, This is just your standard Western, whereas Unforgiven is drama. And it's set up straightforward.
There's a lot more going on in Unforgiven.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on
got a lot more
thematically.
going on. I'll just say in this one, like to avoid any confusion, the cowboy faction that call themselves the Cowboys, the way the narration does it, I think it could have been maybe tweaked a little bit because like the cowboy faction, who are a problem, called themselves the Cowboys. You know what I mean? It's like everyone called themselves the Cowboys. These Cowboys were just like, we are the Cowboys rather than a cowboy.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
Well, there was a difference between them and regular cowboys because regular cowboys were just guys that ran cattle.
Right.
This was a gang.
Yes.
They were also mostly rustlers.
It was an ad hoc name. They were just like, we're the Red Sash bad guys. And they're like, this is the Cowboys.
One day we'll be a football team.
I was going to say, Dak Prescott will ruin us after an MVP season. He'll fold up like in wilt in the playoffs.
More Americans will root against us than for us. That's the Cowboys.
Name your team the Yankees, and all of America will come flocking to your door to spend their money on your hat.
It's like, we want to be based in the United States, but we want a bunch of people to hate us. The Cowboys.
I grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, so we were Redskin fans in Fredericksburg. So
McClinton,
we hated the Cowboys.
That's a lot of fun.
And what pissed me off later was Roger Staubach tried to build an airport in the town I lived in, and we already had an airport. He wanted to build another one that was more convenient for him and his friends, and we fought him tooth and nail on that. I was part of that group that fought him. But look, you brought up the film. I'm going to play the clip.
Taylor?
This is one of the greatest lines ever delivered in any Western or any film, period.
It's a hell of a thing, killing a man. You take away all he's got, and all he's ever gonna have.
That is
I love that movie.
Freaking line.
Yeah.
It's a great line. And then he just starts taking in like the booze because he has to have demon alcohol inside of him to bring the demon inside of him out. It's great.
Man, Mario Van Peebles is fucking amazing.
Talk about posse.
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
I'm a little lost on that one too. The
I am too.
Western is
posse.
posse.
What are you talking about?
I said Mario Van Peebles is amazing. The scriptwriter for Unforgiven and for Blade Runner.
That's not Mario Van Peebles.
David Webb was like 11 years old when Blade Runner.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay,
I got the last name right. I fucked up with the first.
Did I tell you what happened when I went to ask him to join the cast and crew for my Blade Runner special over a year ago? His wife answered the phone. I said, "Hey, this is Gerry from Blade Zone, the Blade Runner fan club. We're going to be putting together a production to have some of the cast and crew from the film get together and talk about having worked on the film. And we wanted to invite David." She goes, "What? No." And I'm like, "Okay." She fucking mockingly laughed at me, and it was so fucking insulting on the phone. I'm like, I've talked to David Webb Peoples. He's a nice guy. I will never call him again. I'm like, that fucking bitch, fuck her. Her and the horse she rode in on. That's an old saying. Do you guys remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Screw you and the horse you rode in on. Classic.
Yep. I've used it. But then again, I'm about 15 minutes younger than dirt, so.
For some
Did
reason,
Eddie Murphy bring that one into popular use?
Oh, it's a lot older than Eddie Murphy.
Oh yeah, that goes way back.
It does.
Yeah, man, my memory slowly. It's like
Steve McQueen's up there as far as eyes.
You know, as much as people, criticize John Wayne always worked with John Ford to make sure that when they shot on location that any American Indians that lived in the area were used in the film to make sure that he helped them. And they always deeply appreciated that. And they did special thank yous to John Wayne for doing that, for fighting to have them in the films.
I've seen documentaries of the folks who lived around Monument Valley who said exactly that.
Yeah. They're so grateful because he helped them financially by doing that shit. And people love to talk shit about, oh, he's racist and all this stuff. It's like, he was conservative, and you just want to say somebody that was conservative is racist. Gotcha. Right.
Yep. I don't even know. He dies in 1976. It was a totally different world. The man has been gone for like 50 years almost, 48 years. I mean, let's cut him some slack. He was born in like 1890.
They don't care. Presentism guarantees that he will be judged based upon standards that exist long after he's dead.
Which is why Toxic Tuesday is so important.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It is. I got to tell you, I love doing our shows, but my favorite show that I do every week, when I'm able to get on there, is Toxic Tuesday. I have so much fun just hanging out with you fuckers.
Well, it's not just that. We just the whole point of that show is to make fun of exactly what you just said, presentism.
Yeah.
We look at the movie in the context in which it was made. We talk about how great a movie it is, and then we make fun of all the things that would make all the current modern audience scream at the sky. And it's absolutely wonderful because all we're doing is telling you about, this is a great old movie. You really ought to watch it. And by the way, it'll piss off all the right people.
Well,
oh, dude, just another red shirt. You just wrote something in private. I got to tell you, that is on my list of films I want to show Anima, because I love Sexy Beast. That is he is a horrifying kid. I couldn't imagine finding Ben Kingsley scary. Jesus, he's scary in that fucking movie.
And until I saw Deadwood and Ian McShane, who plays an actually whitewashed version of his character, who was actually worse in real life. Ian McShane in that movie is as or more scary than Ben Kingsley. But that's what's amazing about that movie, is the guy who's yelling at everybody is Ray Winston, because he's trying to retire.
Who's normally the heavy.
He's normally the heavy. He's the nicest guy in that movie. Yeah. Yes.
I know, it's ridiculous. It's such a great flip on the character. And by the way, he is one of my favorite actors too. I love that guy. Ray Winstone is so good an actor. What a waste when they put him in Indiana Jones in that Crystal Skull movie.
Oh God,
wasted him. By the way, some great comments. One, I want to welcome Cycleman 90. I just saw that he was in here. I wanted to say hi to him. Great comment here from Phantom Outsider again, just FYI, which we are fully aware of, just so you know, because I'm an absolute cinephile. That John Wayne's grandson is the guy who he's one of the Mandalorians. Whenever you see the pistols being handled, that's John Wayne's grandson. He's the pistolier version of Mandalorian. And then the Asian guy does all the hand-to-hand combat. But John Wayne's grandson is the physical manifestation of Mandalorian.
By the way, I love the whole thing. I love the whole thing during the scene when he's doing the show off right now, and then he just takes the cup and mocks him. And meanwhile,
that's the whole twirling thing with this little teacup.
Yeah, and while that's going on, the guy on stage is juggling, and the guy from Northern Exposure shows how dumb the Cowboys are. It's like, it's Professor Terwilliger. He catches things. It's so dumb.
Let's see if he can catch a bullet.
And he just bows a couple of times and gets off the stage while they play like the frantic piano music. It's like right out of every cartoon Western, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, but I took some penicillin for it, and I'm good now.
Cinephile, yeah.
And that is a very bad inside joke because Gary's allergic to it.
Yeah.
We're crowdfunding Titanic 2 with Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh no, I get Gandhi too. I love UHF.
Yeah.
Get Ben Kingsley mixed up with F. Murray Abraham. So you Murray Abraham for doing that to me.
Michael Biehn, also showed up The Mandalorian.
He did.
No, he learned this. He learned this pistol twirling. And what he found out is the guy that was teaching him didn't teach him how to do that one thing when he goes up with it. He just discovered he could do it. And he did it. That was all on his own, learning how to twirl the pistols. Again, go watch that interview with Michael Rosenbaum. Both of them, both interviews. Because he talks a lot about this film, and he talks a lot about The Abyss.
I wouldn't wish working on The Abyss to my worst enemy.
He only had one scary moment he brought up during. Oh my, I love this scene. Because she's riding side saddle, and which was more to the period, and she's riding English style too. And he's smitten with this woman. It's so funny. And in real life, just so you know, she stayed with him until the day he died and never married again.
And wrote a
book. And visited his tombstone regularly.
Is he buried in Alaska?
No, I think he's buried in California.
So they repatriated. Did he come back, or was his remains like brought back to the mainland, whatever, continental United States?
No, he was in the U.S. He was in Hollywood. He spent a lot of time in Hollywood as a consultant for Western.
The movie ends with him heading to Alaska, though. That's my source.
Oh, that did happen, and that's where he got in trouble for that gold, the fake gold.
The fake gold.
They kind of leave that out of this movie and out of the Wyatt Earp movie. It's like, oh, that's convenient. You left that little con that he tried to work with somebody on.
I like how the battles line up in the two movies, though. Like in both movies, Johnny Ringo gets it underneath a tall aspen tree, just like it's said in Wyatt Earp's wife's book. Sorry, just another red shirt. I think that was you speaking.
Oh no, Wyatt Earp's gravesite is in Colma, California.
Sorry, Shinatsky, it was you. Okay, yeah, so he's in Cali. At the end of the movie, he's heading for like Alaska, talking about how he's going to settle down there for good. But that seems to be maybe a trope in his life.
Well, yeah, he I think after they ran him out of Alaska, my recollection is that he spent the latter part of his life as a Hollywood consultant on Westerns.
Which is what that movie Sunset's about.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a great film. If you've never seen it, I have a copy of it. I love that movie. Bruce Willis and James Garner. Garner as the aging Wyatt Earp, and Bruce Willis is the actor Tom Mix.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fictional story about two real people. And of course, he was a pallbearer at Wyatt Earp's funeral.
Yes.
John Wayne was there too, by the way. They don't mention that. John Wayne went to his funeral too.
I got to say, Dana Delaney at this point was absolutely adorable.
Oh, she was gorgeous and funny.
This part of the movie's not bad, but the throttle down sort of like takes you out of the story a little bit. Like I remember in the theater, I was like, I just want to fast forward through his personal life and get back to the shooting.
No, but this is important because this is where this is the setup for who he becomes.
Exactly.
Right.
That, this is all he was going to be, is a pimp, gambler, and owner of a bar.
You say that like
was all he's going to be. And when he got with her, that changed his life. Sometimes not always for the better, because like I said, he got involved with that con up in Alaska.
So he would have become Sam from Cheers if he had stayed.
Kinda,
basically, yeah.
Just with more pistol whipping.
Yep.
Because that was one of the things he was known for. He was not known for shooting people. He only shot one guy before for OK Corral. And I love that they bring it up in the film that you don't want it. You don't want that. It's you never let it go. And he was known for hammering guys. He would hold his pistol like a hammer and whack them, knock the shit out of them.
Yeah, it's in the Costner movie. Does it a few times?
Yes, they showed it. They do a really good job. I do like the Costner film, but nowhere near as this.
He does it once in this film.
Good movie.
Yes, he does.
That's the movie.
Walking out of the jail, he hits that one guy, takes his pistol from him, and hits him with his own pistol.
Yep.
The costume movie has that move in it a bunch, but I think my favorite move in that movie, though, is that someone has him dead to rights without a gun, so he just picks up a billiard ball and whips it, and it hits the guy in the sternum, and it's like, I was like, well, I'll be on my way now. Thanks for the gun.
Oh, Lord. Parrot Head told me to go check my twatter, so it usually means I'm in for something. Pray for me, guys, that I survive this.
Fingers crossed.
Let's see. Here we go. Oh, it's not a joke or a meme. It is actually the okay. I like this. Thank you, dude. Save image where he resides. That's nice.
Is this his gravesite?
Colma, California is where he's buried. And I'm assuming she's buried with him.
Dana Delaney, right? Not in this scene, he's with Maddie, right?
Maddie is his, they say wife. It's a common law
Common
wife,
law
girlfriend. They did not have a ceremony. It's because of certain laws, they have to say things like
laudanum.
that. To stay in a hotel together by law, they have to be husband and wife. So they lied.
Her real spouse is that bottle of laudanum in this movie.
I would not argue with that one iota. So here it is. I'm going to show you real quick. And by the way, Thomas Hayden Church is really good in this movie.
Yeah.
All he had done at this point was play Lowell on Wings. A dumb guy. He's really dumb as the day is long. Funny as hell. God, he was good in this movie. Showed he had range. There you go. This is what Parrot sent me. And it's Wyatt Earp's gravesite in Coleman, California.
Stephen Lang was mentioned. Just want to say he is amazing in Gettysburg, Stephen Lang.
Stephen Lang stayed drunk
the movie.
The entire movie. He was drunk in every scene because that's how he got his eyes to look like that. His eyes have that.
In this.
Wow. Get that glassy look in his eyes for this movie, that character. He stayed boozed up in every scene. So every time you see him, he's about 3 sheets to the wind, if not 2.
Makes his acting even more impressive. No problems delivering the emotion.
Oh, this scene's great. He's high on opium.
That's why you're not supposed to have guns in town, Curly Bill. No, what's going on?
And Sheriff being a pussy tells the marshal, you know, it's not county business. It's in the county, you dumb motherfucker.
Yeah, but it's a town ordinance. So in this one case, he's actually right.
Depends on what side of history you're on. Now, here's another great fucking actor. He plays the mayor, and he's the one who runs the Tombstone Epitaph. And that is Terry O'Quinn, one of my favorite actors.
And there's your Star Trek connection.
Howard Hughes in The Rocketeer. That's what he's best.
Really? Damn. Gary, you need to watch Patriot.
What?
The series Patriot. Terry O'Quinn's in that. Is one of the leads.
Oh, the one about the guy who was captured and turned while he was captured?
No. It's about his son is basically a spy for the CIA.
I'm gonna have to go check it out. I don't know. This is a scene I told you about where when he flips it, he does a reverse railroad turn, which is a trick you can learn with pistols. And it's upside down, but his pinky is still on the trigger. And the argument is that he didn't mean to shoot him, that it was an accident, whereas the majority of people believe that he shot him on purpose. But they leave in the fact that he yelled his name after he shot him, like he was surprised he'd been shot.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They keep the accuracy.
Yeah, the movie portrays him surprised of what just happened.
That he shot him. That's right.
I think he's tripping and wasting.
The guy was high, so
yeah. The
argument is
dragon.
that there is the chance, which is why he was let off. He was charged but let off because it's believed that it was an accidental shooting. They didn't mean to shoot him. Although, if this had been played by Alec Baldwin, we would have believed he did it on purpose.
Well, actually, it really
Well,
does
he stood
matter.
there lying about the facts of it. No, this is not a single action weapon. I couldn't have possibly done it.
Well, that's the point. It depends.
The hammer had to be pulled back.
Exactly, and if he cocked them before handing them over, you don't do that.
We're talking about an actor who was fooled by a woman with no acting training, pretending.
No, we're talking about
who spoke no Spanish.
The character, the real person. Curly Bill.
Alec Baldwin, the real person.
I'm talking about Curly Bill. Whether Curly Bill intended to shoot him.
How did he pull the trigger if it's a single action?
Exactly.
Right.
I love this moment where he puts that gun to his head. He ain't bluffing. He's such a coward, and he plays it so well. He ain't bluffing, but then turns right around. Say gun. He stops talking shit when the gun's up to his head, but the minute the gun's down, he talks shit again. Oh my god, he's a fucking peacock.
And his boys are with him again.
Line too.
Oh, this one.
I got two guns, one for each of you.
That's right.
You're seeing double.
He's so drunk he's seeing double. That's right. And I brought two guns, one for each of you.
And everybody knows that if you're seeing
once the gun's down, once the gun is down, he's threatening me again. I'll see you soon. You know.
Yeah.
God.
See you soon.
But everybody knows that if you're seeing double, you aim right between the two.
Yeah, aim between them. You'll do fine.
I'll get drunk and test that. But Gerry, quick question. You would know more than maybe the rest of us. Are there double action revolvers yet?
I own one.
In 1881. No. In this time, in 1881.
Oh,
do they have
1881. No, I don't think there was anything. There was no double actions. It was all single action. I don't think we got double action until closer to the 20th century, like 1890. Let me go double check. I'm going to go double check.
I'm looking up the Smith & Wesson Schofield.
I'm just looking at double action pistol.
1871, the double rifle.
So it's still a couple of years later.
Late 1860s.
Oh shit!
That's a rifle. What pistols?
No. The Schofield patent revolver, late 1860s.
The Beaumont Adams percussion revolver was the very first successful double action pistol. Was created in 1856.
All right, so they're common by now.
.442 caliber.
Well, I wouldn't say they were common.
Russian. No, it's Dutch Russian.
Technology is 4 decades old, though. You're right. It might not be common,
the technology's there, but Colt is the name, right? Colt is what people would buy. Smith & Wesson were new guys on the block, and they had a break action revolver, meaning you pulled a lever and it fell up. It had a hinge under the trigger guard, like the British.
The cylinder didn't fall out. The barrel fell forward.
Right. And it was not considered as strong as the solid frame Colt. So the Colts were still more popular. But it's not that it didn't exist. It's just that it wasn't
Colts
common.
had like a rapid. Couldn't you swap out the cylinder in a Colt? Because I think we see it in Josie Wells. Because he's got the Colt Navy.
Yes. You could swap out a preloaded cylinder.
Right. You didn't have to reload your Colt, so to speak.
Rust does not have a release date yet. But it is.
Hopefully it'll never come out. It'll only be seen in court when justice is done for what happened.
Every penny, I would say a majority of the money made from that film should go to the family of the late director of photography.
It's not going to make enough money.
And some of it should be awarded directly to the director, too, for having been shot.
Oh, yeah. And let's face it, Alec Baldwin, he's apparently going to walk on being the one who pulled the trigger. What they got him on now is really evil, terrible boss with no safety concerns, slave driving people.
He's been working in the field long enough and had enough guns that he's had enough lessons that he should have known better. Let's see. The first American double action pistol was the Colt 1877, like you were saying.
So mass production just started.
So
but
Russia
they're
had the
around.
first double action that worked, and then Cult made the first American one almost 10 years later, or 12 years later.
So this movie's 5 years after that. Mass productions just started. So there are double actions, but you had to have money. You had to really want one, and almost everyone's going to have a single action, to my mind.
I would agree. That's exactly what I think it was. They were rare,
A lot of
and
legacy
expensive.
firearms, a lot of leftover guns from the Civil War, a lot of Colt Navies. Like I could swap out my cylinder. I'll load a couple ahead of time.
So this was this is 4 years after the invention of double action.
The American double action.
Colt.
How fast does Smith & Wesson catch on? That would seem to be.
This is where he's talking about
invention
shooting
that was gonna
somebody
help.
to his brother. You don't want to know what it's like shooting a human being.
This is the mustache that makes me wonder. This one scene. It might be the lighting.
And Bill Paxton, God, I miss that guy, is so good in this film. He was one of those actors, because my dad and I, when I look back, it's like we really did have a great relationship as when I became an adult. It got soured, but we had moments, and we would talk about films that we liked, TV shows that we liked, and we'd talk for hours endlessly. And Bill Paxton was somebody we both lasered in on very quickly back in the 1980s. We picked up, this guy's going to be a movie star one day. He's a good actor. It was all because of the role as the big brother in Weird Science.
I love that movie.
Ditto.
I love the puppet that they turn him into when she calls him a piece of shit.
I've missed some of the comments. Let me go back and look at some comments here. The news about I found that one out. There's still no release dates, Cycle Man. Funny how the culture
text message
between appendix and hip carry. And you know what? When I carried a weapon on my sidearm, I carried low. I didn't carry it on my hip. I carried it low because my hands would be hanging down there, and I would just come up with the pistol. I didn't want to have to change the position of my arm. My arm would be relaxed, and my hand was always resting right on the grip of my pistol. And that's what I primarily carried for a while. Hey, my buddy Boosh McFadden. Hey, how you doing there? Hey, Kim's best role. I would say that this is, of all of his films, the one he's going to be remembered for.
But he's not in this movie a whole hell of a lot, but he steals every
20
scene.
minutes. 20 minutes.
I'm going to go with The Door. I'm going to go with The Doors as his best movie.
Why,
best
if we
He's
weren't
great in that.
friends, I don't think I could go on.
Great line, right? Stop me, we're not friends anymore.
If I thought you didn't like me, I don't think I could carry on. That was the line. Love Kimmer's best role, Phantom Outsider. I understood that reference. Let's see. I agree, Boosh. Hey, loving man, you've been called.
The reference was to Seth MacFarlane's A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, Kyle's here.
The mustache song from the barn
From
dance.
a while.
Gary,
I didn't see
that's
that.
just been here for more than half an hour.
I'm scrolling back and I don't see anything from him yet. I see Monkey's here. Monkey's here. What's up, Monkey? Monkey. I
also saw Tim in chat. Night I got that video.
Monkey. Yeah.
Watch the monkey get hurt.
And that song is about his divorce and the way that he felt his wife was treating him. Just trying to constantly mess with him instead of just ending it. She would just, everything she would do is in order to mess with him.
He camouflages stuff well when he does it, because we found out
he knows how to use a metaphor.
About Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah, In Your Eyes
is all about Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah, because
I think Us is about the breakup. In Your Eyes is about meeting her. Yeah.
Toto is about
It's about Rosanna Arquette again.
In your or not in your as just
Rosanna.
Yeah.
Take
What about Red Rain?
Steve Lukather.
I think that's about maybe the time that he didn't want to go over our house.
Well, they'd already broken up when he wrote it, but he's had, Gabriel had affairs with a lot of female singers that he worked with, which is why his
breakdown
marriage
each one
didn't work. He was always in the studio with females.
Is that what happened with like him?
Oh, here's the scene where he's just talking shit,
setting up hearts.
He's blustering and he fucking Sam Elliott's standing right behind him. He's talking about see him on the street. Tell him that. I love that. Takes his weapon out, and it's kind of clunky the way Sam Elliott pulled the weapon out. I don't think it was the best take.
Do you think Elliott himself maybe had an injury to his arm or something?
Well, he has a bad leg. I forget what that's about in real life. Stephen Lang played Ike so well. You see the uninitiated, frustrated. Oh, yeah. And like I said, if you weren't here, Roberts, or if you didn't hear me, he was drunk the entire shoot. He stayed drunk for his character. Oh, and there's RoboCop 3. He's the guy who took over playing RoboCop. No.
It's Young Indiana Jones was RoboCop 3, wasn't it? Sean Patrick Flannery?
No.
I swear to God, if you were sitting next to me, I'd throw a drink in your face or knock you out of your chair. No,
I had to have stronger memories of Jill Hennessy from that movie, to be honest.
He was also the corrupt cop in the Person of Interest TV series.
He's also in Thinner.
Yeah.
His name is Robert John Burke.
Yeah.
He screwed me up by having 3 first names in a row.
Oh, he's got a great name, dude. Robert John Burke. Again, you're going to bleed. Like, he gets so threatening until the fucking gun is pulled out. And he's like, oh, man, I didn't mean it. And there she is, Pacula, gorgeous woman. Oh, and here the doctor tells him you need to stop having sex because it's going to kill you. 60% of your lungs
your marital instinct.
60% of your lungs are gone. It's like all he's got left is 40% at best. He goes having sex,
and he's smoking away.
Yeah, he smokes, and then she comes right over there, and she immediately wants to bed with him, and he's like, "Oh, darling," I love the way he talks.
Well, she puts the cigarette in his mouth and lights it.
Yep. He calls her the devil.
Yeah.
You remember that?
She's kind of a demon in Van Helsing too, so perfect.
Yeah, he calls her the devil earlier in the film. Aren't you the devil?
Devil. I'd give her my soul looking like that right there. You want it? Okay.
Yeah. All right. What the fuck? You only live once.
Now, a lot of people misconstrue Big Nose Kate with the character of Katie Elder in The Sons of Katie Elder, which is also based on a true story. It's a different woman.
We never see Katie Elder in that movie, right? She's gone before the movie starts.
And here, I was going to pull up a picture of her. This is the real Big Nose Kate.
Okay. But again, you may be the Antichrist. That was a great line. His delivery was so good, too. Val Kilmer's speaking voice was so incredible. Why did he have to smoke cigarettes?
Here you go. That's Big Nose Kate right there. When she was older. This is when she was younger.
It's only just so big. Isn't it Isabella Rossellini in the Costner movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Another good casting choice, in my opinion.
She was the Lancome model for 20 years.
I used to really like her until she opened her mouth one day about sex education. And I went, you're fucking out of your mind.
Her sister was, I believe, a professor at Stony Brook, taught Italian, Professor Rossellini. Her other sister was a TV critic, right? Pia Lindstrom, or is that a half sister?
I don't know. I do know that in that movie, I thought Costner did a really good job as Wyatt Earp.
The only problem was he was like 40 and he's playing 20, and you could tell early in the movie. By the time they get to the movie, it's like middle of the movie, it's acceptable. Early on, you're like, it's like, I'm only 19. It's like, oh, come on, man.
Well, Kevin Costner's problem has always been Kevin Costner.
He loves watching himself.
I like Kevin Costner, so I wouldn't agree with that. But Dennis Quaid will never be remembered for playing that. He should have got an Oscar for that role of Doc Holliday.
Waterworld? Waterworld?
I just said Dennis Quaid should have got the
Quaid,
Oscar
I thought you said Hopper.
for playing. No, I said.
No, he lost like 30 pounds. You're right.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid's version of Doc Holliday should have got the Oscar. He was that good. But the thing is Val Kilmer outshone him. And Quaid will never be remembered for that role. Also, another memorable character that nobody remembers, Jim Caviezel. One of his first movies. He played, what's his name? Warren Earp, one of the Earp brothers.
Younger brother, yeah.
And now, the thing about Isabella Rossellini, when you brought her up, is not who her siblings are, but who her mother is or father. You know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just for context here, he lost out to Tommy Lee Jones in that year for the Oscar.
Yeah,
Quaid
and Tommy. But Ingrid Bergman was her mother, and Roberto Rossellini, the great director, director, was her father.
Her scene in Blue Velvet is just some of her work in Blue Velvet's amazing.
That's
but
a creepy fucking movie.
But that's the first nude scene I ever saw as a kid, and it was too fucked up. I was like, "What the hell?" It's like I did want to see it with their clothes off, but this is crazy.
I saw it one time, and I'll never see it again.
Yeah, that's why I'm so strange. I've watched Blue Velvet 50 times.
My favorite movie with her was the romantic comedy Cousins with Ted Danson.
Tom's. Oh yeah, does he get hurt more and more throughout the movie as he keeps trying to pursue her?
Yes, well, kind of, yeah. But William Peterson in it and Sean Young are in it, and it's a crisscross love comedy. It's a really good film. It's a lot of fun. Now, a lot of people don't know, yes, the hookers would stand out up on top of the birdcage and all of that. All the local bars had a little, the what do you call that? The awning that would go out and they could stand out on it. And that way you could pick what hooker you wanted before you walked in the bar. Yeah, she was really good in Death Becomes Her. That's a good movie. That's a fun comedy.
That's a great. She's the one who casts the spell or whatever. She's like the medium in the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Egyptian lady,
Kurt Russell's wife,
who really doesn't have any problems from the movie. She just gets paid, and it's like, thank you.
Kurt Russell's wife is Goldie Hawn is one of the main characters in the film. Bruce Willis and what's her name? The great American actress that
Meryl Streep.
Who may very well have been involved with the covering up what that Hollywood executive was doing with young women.
I feel like she got left alone.
She's implicated.
But I think she was left alone because she was like 66 years old, right? She's like almost 80 now.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, there he is, Burke, the intense fucking eyes. My favorite moment in this gunfight is absolutely made up, but I love it when fucking Doc Holliday causes the whole shootout by winking at Thomas Hayden Church's character. Gives him a little surreptitious wink.
Which, by the way, was entirely Val Kilmer's idea to do that wink.
I think that's great. And of course, this actually did happen. He ran from the fight. I don't have a gun. I'm unarmed. Now, what he does once he gets in the photo studio, I never read anything that he did that he shot from the window. I never seen any evidence that happened. That is one moment I think that they made up for the film because I've never seen anything in the reports from the Epitaph or the Telegraph.
And they're a lot meaner if they shoot him before he shoots at them.
Yeah, get to shooting or get out of here. You know, I love this. Doc Holly's ducking and shooting. Wyatt's still standing there in the same spot, still standing there.
Doc pulls the smartest move. He blows the shotgun off, scares the horse. Everyone gets confused, and then he puts his second shot right into the guy.
He gets 3 shots, though. He has 3 shots with the shotgun. He fires one in the air and then 2 into the fight.
Man, when Curly was high, he fired those 2 guns like 24 times.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. No reloads.
Yeah, there's no reloads in this movie, but I figured the double barrel shotgun they'd at least be a little less dishonest about, but nope, 3 rounds. What are you gonna do?
And he got shot. Morgan was hit. Everybody was hit. But Wyatt.
Yep.
And I really like the fact that they show how big the Chinese community was there.
Yeah, they have a presence in the movie. Yeah, it's true.
Then you're under arrest. Right? I don't think I'm going to let you arrest me today.
Yeah, I'd just like to point. I'd like to point out that Hollywood magazines are illegal in Massachusetts and have been since 1998.
Really?
Anything over 10 rounds.
Oh, talking about gun magazine. Yeah, I was going to say like
I'm just. It's just the Hollywood magazine is the one where the revolver goes off 8 times without reloading. The shotgun goes off 3 times without reloading. I was like, I would love to have that magazine.
Have infinite ammunition.
Right. Exactly. And you know what I like about Eastwood's movies? If you watch, pay attention. There is never a cut that allows a gun to fire more times than it has ammunition.
Now I'm going to tell you who just said that.
Carries a lot of guns.
Doc Holliday was shot in real life. He was hit in the gunfight.
In the movie, right?
The only person who wasn't wounded in the gunfight was Wyatt. I guess we did our good deed for today, Mayor.
And like you said, it was brilliant to have the burning building. This scene, I'm going to be honest, in the movie theater, this movie had me engaged and I enjoyed it. But the music and the fire and them just being so like determined and like their friendship together and the loyalty to each other as they walk down that street, that like 2 minutes of the movie really like it went from pretty good movie to really good movie.
I think the best use of the word "son bitch" was John Wayne in True Grit. Feel your hands, you son of a bitch.
Yeah,
agree.
Well, it's funny because "some bitch" was invented in Smokey and the Bandit by Jackie Gleason.
Oh yeah,
he popularized that version.
Buford T.
Justice.
Yeah.
Yep.
A play on Buford T. Pusser, the famous sheriff from Walking Tall.
Yeah.
They copy him into Bond movies. There's like 3 Bond movies of the character just cloned off of that.
Yep.
I got to tell you that my grandfather was he was a badass man. He really was. He was just a tough guy, leathery skin, and he was prone to saying, "You sons of bitches." Those sons of bitches. And he was I think one of the toughest things he ever did when he was a soldier was some MPs forced him to leave a building that they had reconned, him and his team, and they were getting ready to have some bread and wine that they had gotten, and the MPs ran him out of the schoolhouse. It was a blown out building, and as they were leaving, one of the guys asked Everett, or Evie, they called my grandfather Evie, "Did you tell those MPs about the booby trap piano?" He goes, "Nope." And those MPs got killed. He's like, "Fuck them." Drove us out of our building. Fuck them. Dangerous. The God clip. Yeah, Phantom. The God clip. Endless. It's like the president in the movie Escape from New York, standing up on that wall, firing, I think, 90 rounds nonstop.
I love Donald Pleasant
into
going
the Duke
nuts
of New
during
York.
that scene.
I'm the Duke of New York.
You're a number one.
Yeah, God clips. U.S. military needs those.
Yeah, they didn't have to do a lot of set dressing for Escape from New York. The city was ready for it.
Well, they shot right here in St. Louis.
I know. I'm kidding.
And that area had burned down where they shot it. It was destroyed, gutted. So it was perfect for the movie.
One of the most underlit movies of all time, but I love it.
Can we stop doing crazy hats like?
And here we go. This is a great scene. Yeah, and this is where he knows she's not into him anymore, and that she's into good old Wyatt. And there's a lot of creative license with their relationship here because they did connect later, but there's really not much about them in Tombstone, the two of them.
Well, like you said, we see what he ends up doing in Alaska, so maybe she's not too cool.
Well, I don't know if she was aware of what he was doing.
Good point.
I mean, this is not a documentary.
No.
This takes off from real historical events and makes a drama out of it.
Yep.
And I've talked about Chernobyl, the HBO miniseries. Same thing. It's not a documentary about it. It's to hit you right between the eyes with the impact of it, and you see that here. And the funny thing is that for me, the emotional impact in this movie doesn't come until after the shootout at the corral.
At the river?
Yeah, because it doesn't even show the court trial in this movie. It shows it in the other film, but not this one.
Right.
But this one is all about the line, "You tell him I'm coming and hell's coming with me." Because that
was
third
an
act.
epic freaking moment, man. That's when the movie goes from being a really good movie to being, okay, this movie's freaking excellent. This is one of the best Westerns I've ever seen.
Which scene was that?
This movie. Oh, when he comes up, shows up with the double barrel shotgun and knocks one guy to the ground, sticks it right in his face from the point of view.
Yeah, was at the train
you
station.
Tell him I'm coming back.
And it kind of happened like that too. He did.
Because
he
he put his
out.
Cold.
He went on a train and got out the other side. And that was what he did in real life.
Is this breath fogging in that scene? I'm struggling to remember. I rewatched the movie last night on a small screen. Yeah, that was.
It gets cold in Arizona, man. I tell you, I grew up there. I'm telling you, it gets fucking cold there.
Guys, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Because there's a discussion in chat, and I know the answer to that this year. And he doesn't say that because Val Kilmer got annoyed probably with people discussing that shit. So he says in the script, guys, it says Huckleberry. So that's the answer to that.
And Bush has this to say about that.
I'm your Huckleberry.
He means I got your back. I'm your sidekick.
Yeah, isn't it referencing like Huckleberry Finn?
Oh my god!
I'm sorry,
no. There are all sorts of like arboreal references because there's not much technology yet. You know, it's like no one's gonna say the wheels in my mind are starting to turn until like 1920. So we're stuck with the analogies of an earlier time. So I'm your Huckleberry, and what's the other one? You're a daisy if you do. Which
and then when he
shoots him, that one.
When he shoots Johnny Ringo, he says, "You know Daisy at all." Love that line.
Which is weird because I thought it meant to push up daisies, but clearly it means something else.
Like you're not pleasant at all because flower.
Or graceful, whatever it might mean. But yeah, I like that they leave us guessing a little. They speak English, but they're speaking English from like 1881, and like we're left like to try to figure out their references. It would be like taking like some kind of like Kerouac talking beatnik and like dropping him into like now and trying to. It's like, you guys are all so woke. And you're like, F you, and it'd be like, no man, that means you're all real cool. It'd be like, wait a minute, explain that. And it's like, well, in 1948, where I'm from.
Right.
Yeah,
and that is the thing. It's the it is really well written for the vernacular of the time. Because yes, it sounds foreign to us. Because almost as weird as something from my childhood, hearing somebody say "far out," man.
Hurry up!
You listen to that now, and you go, "How old are you, dude?" But yeah, but what amazes me and what I love about this movie is that the climax of this movie is not the shootout at the OK Corral. It's not. It's what happens after.
Right. The shootout.
Yeah, Bush is right. Huckleberry is someone that's good for the job, perfect, the person you're looking for, but it's also a person of no consequence. It's just the right person for the job. And I think that's why Samuel Clemens named him Huckleberry Finn. Because the main character is Tom.
Yeah, and Finn is his perfect sidekick.
There's a Huck Finn solo book, isn't there? Or is he? Oh, he's only in the Tom Sawyer story.
No, there's Huckleberry.
No, he had his own story, The Adventures of
Yeah,
Huckleberry Finn. That's when he disappeared with N-word Jim.
Yes, yeah, I was gonna say, N-word Jim, our pal. Which is another way to show you how the world has changed and why presentism is bad. Because they'll turn him. It's like, well, popular minority, James, what should we do?
Now, see, this sounds about right here. Phantom Outsider says it best right here. That a daisy meant something or someone of high quality. There you go. That makes sense.
Wow. I'm glad Phantom hangs out in my chat and helps me out with this stuff. You saved a few broadcasts. Thanks, Phantom. You're the best.
No, when he's using it, Bush, he's not referring to himself as a person with no consequence. He's saying, I'm the person for the job. Because it has
I'm your Huckleberry.
Meanings. I'm your Huckleberry.
Exactly.
Sort of like the word MFer now, like can be used pejoratively or as like, just a sentence like he's a bad MFer. The emphasis just he's a bad MFer or he's a bad motherfucker. You know what I mean? It changes the complete meaning. If you printed that sentence, people wouldn't know what it meant.
Right.
Oh, this scene is so rough. Bill Paxton's death.
Yep.
We love the actor, and this is a brutal way to go out. And he's almost, it looks like he's going to make it. That's the best part of the scene, is that they play with the fact he's going to make it.
And then he turns to me, he says, hey, what? You remember when I talked about seeing a light? I don't see nothing at all.
Yeah, I don't see no light. Does that mean that he led a bad life, or does that just mean that he read a bad book?
Yeah, each one of those has a comma between them, meaning that they had different meanings. Each one, like a person of no consequence, or the person that's right for the job, the person you're looking for, your Huckleberry. Each one of those is its own little definition of what it could be used for. Yeah, well, we had to watch out, man, because even doing this stuff over on Toxic Tuesday, White Men Can't Jump got pulled by Fox. Got ganked.
Wait, what do you mean? They disappeared the movie in the name of presentism?
They blocked it. They blocked it on
in
copyright.
Every country.
I think it's back now. I think it's back now, Gerry.
What did they do? Did they blur it? Because that's what I suggest is to blur the screen where the video is.
Right. And I don't know what he did.
Yet, but Nick said on his member stream that immediately, as soon as he got notified that it got blocked, he worked on getting it back on so that people can watch the replay.
That was a fun show.
I still have to watch it.
Since I jumped on there, and Brian, all of us, Tom, when we get on there, we've seen those numbers grow, and it just makes me so proud that I'm part of that with helping Nick's numbers grow like that. Because it's a good show. Toxic Tuesday is a good show. It's what inspired me to do this, because I like talking about great films. Oh, this scene right here where he's out in the street, and he's got blood all over him, rain pouring down, and the two women that love him, get away from me. He's like, don't you understand? I'm fucking death. I'm just going to bring death.
He knows what's coming.
Oh boy, here it is.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to pause it here for a second and play the video. Here we go.
Well, bye.
How many takes did it take to get Powers Booth?
Great fucking moment.
Yeah, but I would
long
love
before
to know.
It became popular, when somebody like in Hollywood says something stupid, I'm going to go to Canada. That was my meme. I would go to. I just love that meme, and now it's super popular. Everybody does it.
Yep. The way he says it, the pause, the intonation. Can you imagine how many ways you could say the words? Because come on, in the script it says well, comma, bop, period. And then you say, how am I going to deliver this? And I would love to know. Ask one of the actors on this film or the director, how many takes did it take for Powers Booth to come up with the delivery that was used in the film? Because I would be astonished if that was a single take.
It really helps the movie too.
My own limited experience with acting. Sometimes, at least one of the things I was taught to do, you'll write out lines under for certain ways you'll intonate things. So if you're going up, you'll have a line going down thing. So in between takes when they're setting up whatnot, you're going over your script thinking, okay, what's the character and it's obvious that he just has a bunch of disgust and is telling them to fuck off. So it's like, well, bye. Just fuck you.
I think for a large segment of the people seeing this movie, a certain generation, Powers Booth's most memorable role going into this too is Jim Jones. So it really helped. He's kind of a cult leader.
People don't remember that. That was how I knew who he was. Yeah, that's how I knew who he was because he had played Jim Jones. And the next, this film, and then he was Philip Marlowe on TV.
Oh yeah,
right. He did, but in the role as Jones, he's absolutely masterful as a cult leader, to the point where you're starting to you're not getting ready to join his cult, but you're like, okay, I get how he was able to appeal to these people. He was amazing. He was amazing in that movie.
And I'm going to show this clip here. I love this scene so much. It's so well done. Here we go. I'm going to show this clip. Right here with that spur.
Oh.
All right, Clanton. You called down the thunder. Well, now you got
it.
You see that? It says United States Marshal. What? Please don't kill me. Please. Take a good look at him, Mike, because that's how you're going to end up. The Cowboys are finished. You understand me? I see a red sash. I kill a man wearing it. So run, you cur. Run! Tell all the other curs the line's coming. You tell them I'm coming. And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
You don't get much better than that.
Nope.
And I would never go back to his town, man. Like you've made a believer out of me, bro. I'm leaving. I'm going to another part of this country, another region.
Other careers beckon.
I will be at this train station until I get enough money to leave town. I'm not going to leave the train. I'm sorry, man.
Do we really have to be cowboys? Couldn't we be like cow people?
Going into selling dry goods like the guy from Unforgiven. It's worked out for him.
And I like the fact that McMaster's becomes a good guy, that he was part of their team. He was a cowboy. And he says, I'm with you now. Women and children out of line.
Yeah, three of them turned.
According to him, he considered it a fair argument that they had between them, beef. But once they went over the line, he wanted no part of it.
He wasn't an extremist. If you went extreme on this guy, he'd be like, I'm going to go with the good guys. You guys, we can no longer say we have the upper moral hand. I'm out.
Yeah, the blood coming out of his head.
Yeah.
Oh, this scene where he reaches for the opium pipe and it's a barrel of his Colt.
Yes.
Ugh.
Well, he's got
Raspberry
the ultimate
jam.
high. It's Colt 44 in the head.
I'm not saying I want to do it every day, but I'd like to try that just once to be that out of it. Never managed to get to that point in my life.
His face when he realizes that it's not
All right.
opium type is present.
Now, this scene is shot fairly accurately to what happened, including that insane when he gets up and just starts walking out in the middle of that fucking river. He really fucking did it. I love this where he's taunting him. He says, got you on both sides. What are you going to do now?
One of the best shootouts ever.
And is it this one or the Costner one where they grab one of his guys and drag him to death? It's this one, right? It's kind of, is it right?
Oh no, that's McMaster's. Now in the director's cut, you see the scene that leads to it. In this one, they just like McMaster's is suddenly dragged to him and left for dead because he is dead. He's dead.
And a mess. He's not a pretty corpse.
No open casket there.
Yeah, his face was nothing but road rash.
Right. Yeah.
The other scene, I don't know if we're going to get to it in this version of the slideshow, that I like is the one where after the actor is killed and Jason Priestley goes after the two guys that did it. That was a good scene too. And the guy who shot the actor is played by a real life descendant of Wyatt Earp.
That's right. I remember that.
That's cool.
Oh yeah. So this scene is just amazing. And I'm going to go ahead and play 11 seconds.
No. Son of a bitch. No.
That's how it happened.
Yep.
That's how we deal with the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yeah, basically, all of a sudden, Curly Bill Brocious' team were stormtroopers. Couldn't shoot worth shit.
Yep.
Their weapons finally acted like we were told weapons at the time did. Very inaccurate.
Well, again, most for most people, adrenaline is more of the problem than the weapon. Being able to maintain your composure is a whole lot of it.
That's the story that Little Bill gives us in Unforgiven, right? He's like, this guy did this, that guy did that. Everyone was rattled except me. So I very slowly took out my gun and shot these people.
Hey, let's not forget, guys, there's a poll attached to the show today. I hope everybody took it. Now, I was only able to add those. There was one more film that I wanted to put up there was Hour of the Gun with James Garner when he first played Wyatt Earp. And I wanted to see what everybody thought of what they felt was the best version.
Well, I guess Gary, I have to apologize because this movie is the only version I've ever seen.
Same.
Oh, you've never seen Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas?
Nope.
Oh man, that's a great one. So let's see what we've got here. What is it?
Are they giving you a tie again, Gerry?
Yeah, My Darling Clementine is the one I'm talking about. 1946. Gunfight at the OK Corral, 57. Wyatt Earp. Now, My Darling Clementine had Henry Fonda.
It's not that one. They changed their names. It's not Gunfight at the OK Corral. They're very close characters who do the very same thing, but
it's obvious what different. It is.
Yeah, and it's got Dr.
It's obvious
McCoy.
what it
I just
is.
want to say that the crazy bad
yes,
guys.
Doc is in the
Forrest
film.
Kelly.
And Gunfight at the OK Corral, 1957, with Kirk Douglas and Burt Lancaster. Wyatt Earp, 1994, came out after this movie. And then this film itself, Tombstone. And Tombstone is winning at 69% right now. And I guess I could go ahead and end it. So I'm going to end that poll.
You know, on my channel, Tombstone's beating the crap out of Fury as to what people want to watch later. It's binding now. We'll be watching Fury later tonight. I'm sorry, Tombstone later tonight. Fury seems to get kicked every time.
I have so many problems with that film.
I hate how immoral the American European theater soldiers are. They're like
it would not be tolerated.
Guys.
It is so unrealistic the way they're treated.
When Brad Pitt started talking German, I'm like, that's just too cute. Come on. We don't even need it for the movie. It does nothing to help the story. And then the Americans in Europe who kill every single prisoner, it's like they're 4 for 4. They don't even try. They're evil, those guys.
Now,
this is one of my favorite scenes in the film, and this is a scene that is echoed in Vindicated. There's a moment that I as an homage, I borrowed directly from this scene with him and Doc Holliday. And of course, there's the late great Charlton Heston, but also on the right there, that's Jim Mitchum, Robert Mitchum's son.
Oh, it's awesome that they put him in this movie. Robert Mitchum's having a real renaissance. He'd just been in Cape Fear. He's doing a lot of voice work, and he's being appreciated.
He and Gregory Peck both. He and Gregory Peck both were in Cape Fear. I think there's 2 other cameos in the film too from the original. But there she is. She sees him, despite her friend being dead, murdered. You know, she still can't stop giving him a smile. It's a sad smile, but a smile.
She didn't have much respect for him when he died. Oh wait, no, this guy. No, the actor,
the young actor.
Yeah,
I was surprised to see Charlton Heston in this movie.
That was cool as hell, though.
No, it was, but I just figured he'd been unpersoned by Hollywood by now.
This movie didn't give a shit about what Hollywood.
I mean, Kurt Russell.
Look
who Kurt Russell is. That guy is very based.
I know.
He doesn't care what people think at all.
That's probably the only reason they got Heston to do this and hired him, because by this time Heston was definitely persona non grata.
Well, he's also getting very ill. He's not around much longer at all.
Well, he started developing Alzheimer's in the 90s.
Yeah,
very detectable it was detectable by the mid 90s. You know what I mean? Like they had to probably work hard with him. So there may have been other things going on. It's sad that Planet of the Apes Tim Burton movie that wasn't really that good was his last appearance, but in a way it was kind of cool. I don't know. I liked Charlton Heston. He's in a lot of great movies and a lot of great sci-fi movies. People overlook that.
In fact, he was my favorite sci-fi actor for years. The guy appeared in the second filmed version of I Am Legend with the movie Omega Man.
Last Man on
Soylent
Earth,
Green,
the first one, right?
Planet of the Apes. He was in some great science fiction. He was a very progressive thinking guy for a conservative.
Yep.
He was out there before it was popular, when people were scared. He got out there with the civil rights movement.
That's right.
He was out front and center before any other Hollywood people were he was alone out there.
He
So
may
when
have
people
gone
talk shit,
marching to Selma.
They don't know anything about that man.
No, he was, yeah. He precedes any kind of real terms. He was just like, I'm just another American who votes, in private and minds my business. But I think we should, do the right thing. Pretty cool. And in so many epic freaking movies, even outside sci-fi. Go outside sci-fi. Wow, all those big, huge movies like Ben-Hur.
Huge. Pop Culture Minefield. It was Martin Balsam, who's a good actor. I like Martin Balsam. Again, that guy in the background with the Smokey the Bear hat is the dude from Bonanza. Not Bonanza, I'm sorry, Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh man.
Well, that was he just assumed that he would be killed, and fucking guy survived to the end. And I love the way they show him dying in this film, even though that's not how it happened. The sanatorium that he went to is actually in a hotel in downtown. It wasn't up on the mountain like they show. I've been there. And oh my God, this scene. All right, sorry. I have this one too, Brand. Here we go.
Well. I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry. Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.
And
there it is, man.
Credit Michael Biehn for that sudden stop and reaction, because when the line comes after, you look like someone just walked over your grave, he did.
Yeah. And it is a great line.
Sorry.
Now, what were you saying?
In real life, Ringo was found dead a while later, and it looked like he shot himself.
It's what actually the official report said, is self-inflicted gunshot wound. And that, some historians have said it's impossible for Doc Holliday, but others have said he could have made it down there to Texas to shoot him. He could have done it. And there are those theorists out there, historians, who believe that Doc snuck down there and murdered him.
You know what? There's this thing called Hitman
to avenge for
Hitman
the Earps. I love that. He shoots him in the head and he's like, he's dead, but he's not dead yet. It takes him a moment to collapse. Poor soul. No Daisy at all.
He was just too high strung.
And when he sees the badge, he says, well, I guess what does he say? I guess my
hypocrisy's going only so far.
Hypocrisy goes only so far. I fucking love this scene. Him and Doc.
He's not dead. He's just resting. Yeah, he's getting better.
Well, I gotta say, from a historical point of view, unless you were Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday was the scariest freaking man alive. Because I think, I think
he doesn't get.
I just think that Wyatt Earp was the only person he ever liked. And if you weren't Wyatt Earp, you wanted to be as far away from Doc Holliday.
That line. Well, it goes back to that great line when they're at the riverside. He said, hell, I got a lot of friends. He says, I don't.
Exactly. Oh. Python reference.
Right here. Look at that handshake. I fucking love that moment. They're riding and shaking hands. That was great.
I wonder how long it took.
Hello,
to get that
Jeff.
It's hard to do that.
Yeah, I know.
Until you've ridden along somebody, try to interact with them. Now, here's the hospital scene. The book is fictional. There was never a book written. But it does pay homage to the friendship between him and Doc. And he always spoke highly of Doc Holliday. But he never There's no record he ever went up there to visit him while he was in the hospital.
You know why he looks so miserable? That's not just great acting. He had them put ice on the bed, so he would be
to make him
shaking and
uncomfortable.
feeling really shit. Yeah, he went metal
That's a
on
good
that
idea.
one.
I like that.
Wow.
Yeah, Ike riding along, pulls the sash off, holds it up in the air, and then lets it go in the wind. He's like, I'm done with this shit. But he got murdered anyway. He got gunned down later. Because he was, as he called him, a cur. I love that word, cur. It's like the word
doesn't
fiend.
it mean cur means what? Mongrel, disgusting dog, right?
Basically, yeah. Mostly a vicious dog.
And yeah. And one that commands no respect.
Right.
Fear, perhaps, but like mostly disdain.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Yeah, an aggressive dog, or that is in poor condition, especially a mongrel. A mangy-looking cur.
Congratulations, guys. We got it right.
Good job.
Even
Welcome
a
to
blind
Reading
squirrel
Rainbow.
That
occasionally.
line, if you ever had even the slightest feelings for me, you will go. Because he doesn't want to die with him there. He wants to die, alone.
Which is kind of a little bit like Once Upon a Time in the West when Jason Robards like, go away. I don't want you watching me die.
And of course, this great moment when he looks down and he sees he doesn't have his boots on. Well, I'll be damned. Huh. It's this last word. Huh.
Uh-huh.
This is funny.
Does he draw aces and eights in their last poker game too?
No, I don't remember.
I think he gets the dead man's hand.
And then the great scene where Wyatt goes and finds her. Oh, it's great. This is good. This is just good movie making.
Well, it's a proper denouement, as they like to say.
Rockies. And it's got a great final line too, with him, throwing his hat up. I got nothing to my name. She says, well, lucky thing, I come from a rich family.
Yes. We don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. My family's rich.
That is interesting. I didn't know that. Kurt Russell gave Val Kilmer a plot on Boot Hill in Tombstone, Arizona. Yeah, they became very chummy making this film.
Yep. Well, given that
we're missing all the dialogue here, I'm pull that down, would you, please? It's driving me crazy. I want to see this dialogue because this is great dialogue here. This is pure cinema right here.
Absolutely. This is where it was Hollywood.
It was his Paul Bearer and Tom, or some was his Paul Bearer and Tom Mix wept. Oh, this is great. It was broken forever. Maddie died of a drug overdose shortly after she left Tombstone. She died in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt and
Josephine. As soon as you get closer to the source, right?
Basically with him. Tom Mix wept, and that was the character Bruce Willis plays in Sunset.
I just want to say, and I love the ending of this movie, but let's remember that Wyatt Earp was the guy who survived, and the history is always written by the victors.
That's true. That's true. That's why.
Me, wait a minute. Just let me say this. This to me is Wyatt Earp's version of this story, complete with happy ending. And it's there are, I've argued with people in chats over whether this or Wyatt Earp is the better or more accurate movie or what have you. I think this may not be the most accurate movie, but this is the best. I think this would be the best movie. I'd be hard pressed to believe that anybody's done this better than this. And I will watch the other.
I wanted to say this event, which was, it's an American historical event, accounts have differed since the day after the shootout. So there have always been competing different stories and narratives. There's always been competing different sets of alleged facts. We don't know which ones are held in common and what's undisputed. All I know for sure, these two factions didn't like each other and shot it out in the town. And then this fueled a dime novel industry for decades afterwards. It was a seminal event. And did it happen on what was it, October? Was there something to the day? Did it also happen on the 4th of July, or is that Custer? There was something, right? This was October that the shootout. Custer the battle was June 20th, but they find out about it. The nation gets the news on the 4th of July, 1876.
Oh, Little Bighorn, right.
Yeah. Was this also like a kind of a momentous day, or is bleeding over from Unforgiven, and this was in October, right? The shootout was in October?
It took place. I'm looking it up right now to double check.
I think it's fall 1881.
It was actually before this, though. That was in 1876.
That's a little bit.
The battle took place June 25th and June 26th.
Okay.
Of 1876.
The nation gets the news
five years before. It was 5 years before.
This movie's 5 years later, right? This movie's 1881.
The story took place in 1881. The battle at Little Bighorn was in
it's 1876. It stuns America because they get the news on July 4th, 1876 is when the wires get it to the papers. And it was the beginning of the World's Fair in Chicago, so it was just a national moment of shock.
And Custer got what he deserved. He started that shit. He's the one who provoked the whole situation.
Benteen
I'm very pro America, but he got what he deserved. He betrayed the president's trust, lied to the president. The president ordered him to go do his research in the Black Hills and report directly back to him, and do not speak with any press. And the first thing Custer did is he went to the press. And the minute he hit the press, it started the drive to go find gold in the Black Hills.
Yeah, we lose a reporter in the battle with the Custer. He's hanging out writing his biography. And do you believe that Custer was driving the women and children towards the river to try to do some terrible stuff? Because that seems to be the consensus now.
I don't know. All I know is that I do believe he was scalped, and that we have tried to hide some of the things that were done to him.
Well, let's put it this way.
If you listen to one of his two graves.
What, Red?
I've seen a program where this is based on the National Park Rangers at the Little Bighorn battlefield, where archaeologists have done some research and some digging, and they have a lot of graves marked. And what it seems that Custer did was succumb to his own arrogance.
I've seen that. I know what you're talking about. You're right. Yeah.
He split his forces and thought that he could encircle the Indian camp. And because he divided his forces, the Indians were able to defeat him piecemeal. And
he left.
This is the reason why
Gatling guns.
Right. And this is the reason why in 1895, the Army had the Savage 95 lever action put up against the Craig Jorgensen bolt action to replace the Trapdoor Springfield single shot rifle, because the Indians were carrying all sorts of multi-shot lever action rifles, and all
till
of
the middle of the battle, when they have all of our rifles too. Then and the majority of rifles firing at Custer are from Custer's own guys, and it shows a piecemeal retreat to the hill where they did. It was just their plan falls apart so fast in just minutes. And the other two commanders get dragged for this, but they probably deserve medals for fighting their way out of that. They had no water. They were in a terrible position. Custer left them with very little supplies, and they somehow didn't get wiped out themselves. People survived Little Bighorn, just not in Custer's unit. Right. Or Custer's command, because as we said, he divided his troops. And really quick for NFL fans, the first Patriots Super Bowl, Vinny Vinatieri is a descendant of a Vinatieri who's in the regimental band of Custer, left him behind to guard the machine guns that were going to slow them down.
Yep. He didn't bring the Gatling guns.
He won the
you're
Super,
correct,
Super
Phantom
Bowl
Outsider. Custer was stripped. He was naked. They took his clothes off of him, left him naked, but they didn't mutilate his body. That is correct.
Son of the Western Star says the same thing. They didn't want to.
But again, there were two separate years. It was not the same year. One was in the shootout at the OK Corral was 1881, and the Battle of Little Bighorn was in 76.
The difference, I think, is that the shootout at the OK Corral became a myth almost immediately, driven mostly by the media, dime novels, penny dreadfuls, whatever you want to call them. Every writer wanted to talk about it. Every writer wanted to make a buck off of it because it was such a controversy at the time. Custer was a disaster, and that was
We Lose is not a great story. You're right.
Exactly.
The people we say can't beat us beat the hell out of our toughest guy, the most photographed man of his time, and that's
well,
not
he had
as great of a story.
aspirations. And this is the problem because my
president.
dad and I would do a lot of reading together on Custer, and I got to tell you, he wasn't a romantic dude. You've never read romantic letters until you've read the published letters of his to his wife. Those are amazing personal letters. And I don't remember. It was a history book that my dad got that I read when I was young, and he would. Sometimes we just sit and read to each other, and that was our favorite things to do. Is I loved hanging out with my dad when I was a kid. We'd just read to each other, and he read a lot of the things that he would write to his wife. They were just gorgeous, but he had aspirations for the presidency, and this is something he was very politically driven. And when his big screw up for me. And what made me hate him was when Grant ordered him to go to the Black Hills and to report back to him what they find, what the findings are. And he went there, and then he told him directly, "Do not speak to the press." And he went straight to the press. And he betrayed his commander in chief and the United States and led us into a war.
Was the book you read Son of the Morning Star? That's the really good one. It's amazing. They made a movie of it. I just
remember reading some of his letters and just once again, this is when we talked about it earlier, how literate people were at that time. My dad and I, because I grew up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, one of the most historical cities in the United States, not the most, but a very historical city. Many battles were fought there, Revolutionary and Civil War. I remember I'd go for walks and we'd find Civil War relics out in the woods, cannon, ball, rounds from guns. It was crazy. I found a bayonet once, rusted old bayonet from the Civil War.
That's cool. And, I'm a son of the Army of the Potomac from two different great grandfathers.
But there was something, about those letters that the soldiers would write home. And this one book had published letters from all these soldiers from the North and South, and just the amazing prose. These guys were literate and using words nobody today would even fucking know to use. And people today like to act like those people were ignorant. And no, they weren't. No, they weren't.
I think my favorite word that they were using was they'd be like, I had to find victuals. I was like, what the actual? I had to go Googling around for that one, man. Food. Victuals are food.
Have you ever heard the term vittles?
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
Yes. That's the victuals is the original word. Vittles is the
Americanized version.
Americanized version of it. Yes. It's basically grub.
Yeah, what part of
That's
Virginia are you
great.
from, Hojo? That's my buddy Hojo from. Well, he's a comic creator like me. Wait, the movie is on my top 10, and Sam Elliott in a bar near Tombstone. I was stationed about 30 miles from there. Oh, you were at Fort Huachuca. Yeah, I've been to Fort Huachuca. I did some temporary duty there. My best friend, Jim Woodward, was stationed there. He was a senior field instructor for Army counterintelligence. I always laughed about that counterintelligence. It's kind of redundant.
Gary, quick look in the private chat, please.
Actually, Gary, I think Army counterintelligence is the one non-contradictory term I've ever heard.
Which one?
Army counterintelligence.
Well, that's counterintelligence. What I said. It's
military.
Redundant.
Yeah, well, no, military intelligence is a contradiction in terms. Army counterintelligence is perfect.
It's perfect, but it's redundant because saying army means counterintelligence.
Yeah.
See, born and raised in Augusta County, I was born in the same town as Woodrow Wilson. I don't like to speak his name out loud. No, he's a piece of shit. He was an absolute racist piece of shit. He's the reason, because people don't know this, that before, after the Civil War and before World War I, the U.S. military was desegregated. That blacks, Indian, Hispanics all served together, whites.
Yep.
And then Woodrow Wilson became president, and he resegregated the military, and that lasted until World War II, the end of World War II.
Yep.
So everybody loves to talk about
freaking jerk off.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt. What a great president he was. He didn't overturn that shit, did he? He also imprisoned.
But he did overturn.
He imprisoned Japanese Americans. Yeah, great president.
Yep.
George Takei, right? Do we feel bad for George anymore? He's made enough money. He still has to be so bitter and mean about it.
Stop now. It's
there's
a certain period of time where you can stop lashing your back for attention.
And he wrote his play about it. It will be performed again. It was well reviewed. So he should. America's been so good to George Takei that it makes me upset when he says those things now, because he doesn't temper it at all. He's still every bit as bitter.
And he's aiming at the wrong target.
Yeah, that's
the
wow.
People who
Phantom,
used to like him are the ones who dislike him the most.
That's true, Phantom. Very true.
Wow.
Let's see, what is this? I was then Colonel Michael Flynn's driver for about 2 weeks. If you know the area,
Flynn.
then you probably know where I caddied for a short period of time. I was at Shannon Green's there in Fredericksburg. Oliver North came there. Got to meet him. But there's natives still considered sacred.
And we carved the faces of our presidents into it. That'll show you for telling us to stop. That maybe might have been a little extreme, right?
Still, it's one of the few locations on that I want to see before I die. Never been there. I've been to every major monument in this country except for that one.
Go there on the 4th of July. That looks like an amazing fireworks show right there.
Good idea. I want to live like Wyatt Earp said. I just want to. The last years of my life, I just want to travel and live on room service. That would be a great way to go.
I want to see Gettysburg on the 4th of July before I die too. But that's only about 6 hours away, so it's attainable.
Somebody asked what I want to do when I die. I said I want to be cremated, then turned into a soup and thrown into the face of my my ex-wife.
We can do. He was a kind and magnificent bastard.
Well, that's what Pankoki said he wants to have put on my tombstone, is that he was a kind and loving bastard. Because I'm very kind to people I love and very caring. I'm very nurturing. But when it comes to saying things, I'm a fucking asshole. And I will just say things just to get a reaction out of people, just to see what happens. So where
I
I have
will-
a photo of me in North. What?
I'll testify to the nurturing and nice side. He's one of the best influences and coolest people I've come across on YouTube.
I try to help all my friends. I really do. I want to be there for them. See that mine is outside the tribal area. The railroad was promoting the idea that there was a way. And here's what Ulysses Grant was trying to do. He wanted to create a way to where he could help the American Indians so they didn't betray the treaty, and that they would benefit from it, and they could, mine there and be able to help the country, because we were in a depression at that period. We were in a depression. And so we needed that. But the problem is when Custer went to the press, it ended up being a rush for the gold. And that caused problems that led to the wars. So. And Jackson
his responsibility in spreading the word had a lot to do with it. Andrew Jackson was not a nice person.
Nope. He went up against Congress. Congress says, we just made these treaties. We can't break them. He says, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring the army. You bring who you're going to bring, and we'll see who wins this.
But also, while we don't,
it's almost a direct quote.
Nice.
Andy Jackson.
While we probably don't need a national bank, but his problems with that national bank were largely ego driven. There were reasons to get rid of it, but he was just a little bit kooky. And his inauguration party is a hilarious story.
It was, I don't know if it was a galvanizing moment. I really don't. I just know that really he started the whole thing. And it's called karma. Karma, man, it's a motherfucker. I learned that in the Army.
Words and Pictures has a good point, by the way. He might have something there because it was like not quite mass culture. There's no radio, but with like things like the Telegraph, people in New York are watching like scoreboards in Times Square to see baseball games in St. Louis in like 1881. It's already going on. So yeah, like in 1876, the fact that the whole country could find out about this as soon as horses got from Little Bighorn to the first telegraph place. Yeah. It may have galvanized us. That might have been when America really got its identity.
But Andrew Jackson believed in manifest destiny, and that's one thing that freaks me out when somebody starts talking that way.
He deported every single Indian from the East Coast.
Yeah, just what the fuck are you talking about? Manifest destiny. I don't. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to get into this. This is too much of a discussion. We've been here long enough. It was a great movie. I'm glad we talked about this film. It is one of my favorite movies ever made. It's in my top 10 list of greatest films ever. It is my number one favorite Western, followed immediately by Searchers, followed then by Unforgiven. And then True Grit, and I've already mentioned this, right down the line, great fucking Westerns. My one beef with John Wayne, Don Ecker, and I've talked about is that I don't call him a draft dodger, but he avoided the draft. And he had a medical, what do they call it? 4F for flat feet, I think is what it was. But later it was upgraded to he was the sole bread earner for the family, and he had a lot of kids. So, and Don gets, he's very negative about it, and I respect and understand that. I'm less so, because I also look at what John Wayne did for the war effort, that he stood for this country, and he became one of the most staunch patriots this country's ever seen. And although I think it's ridiculous that Catherine O'Hara and others tried to have something done to where he had like a special event or date or something for John Wayne, and I'm like, didn't earn that. If he'd served, he would have earned that. But like Audie Murphy.
Well, Stalin did send men to kill him.
Yeah. Well, because he was so anti-communist. And he made one of my favorite anti-communist films is Big Jim McLean with James Arness. Good fucking movie. He was 34, but he was still draftable. What was it? 36, I think was the age, the oldest you could be drafted. I have native history and a fan of Jackson. He's the boogeyman on my mom's side. I got to tell you, man, that guy, he was a crazy son of a bitch, Andrew Jackson. The assassination attempt on him is one of my favorite stories of him. Guy had 2 guns and failed to kill him. And he pulled out a sword from his cane and fucking whooped the shit out of him. Guy pulled 2 guns on him and he had a sword and he fucking whipped the shit out of him. That was a great story. But I don't believe that he should be on our $20 bill. I think he is a horrible person.
He had great hair, though. I want to say,
great hair, amazing hair. Jesus, are you kidding me?
If I could have the hair of any former president, I would have Andrew Jackson's hair. And also, he's come to my rescue at many a late night drinking on the bar when his picture has just appeared on the counter.
Yeah, well, that's what I was wondering, Hojo. Okay, I get it. I know voice to text. It fucks with you. But Andrew Jackson, the only great thing he did is that drive where he pushed the British down and out of the country. He whooped their asses.
And Battle of New Orleans.
Of New Orleans. Yep.
My favorite
he was 16 years old, underage, and he went in the military lying about his age. He was too small for the Marines, but the Army took him.
My favorite presidential assassination attempt story was after Ronald Reagan was shot. He was giving a speech, and like a balloon popped, and he just said, "Miss me." And just everyone burst out laughing.
The best dodging the bullet, though, has to be FDR. He has all these health problems. He's messed up as could be. He's drunk all the time. Someone shoots him. It bounces off his copious supply of cigarettes. He's got like a huge brass cigarette case in his pocket. And afterwards, he's just flashing a dented cigarette case and laughing.
Well,
I have a favorite story of his, too.
Teddy Roosevelt got shot and delivered a speech in spite of it.
That's also true.
Reagan, right when they were about to put him under.
Yep. Go ahead.
Had this great comment where he looks at the surgeon and he looks at the guy that's about the anesthesiologist is putting the mask on. He goes, "I hope he's a Republican." About the surgeon. I hope he's a Republican.
The last thing he said was, please put General Haig in charge because George Bush is kind of an idiot.
My God. Haig.
Yep, that ended the career. Haig would have been president of this country in about 4 more years.
Oh my God, that day was so insane.
He didn't say anything wrong.
He says nuclear. He's a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and he says nuclear. The word is nuclear. There's no such word as nuclear.
George W. Bush had a problem with that word too.
Yes, he did.
A lot of people do. I have a rocket scientist friend he's a fucking physicist, says nuclear. Drives me up a wall. I think Don's even said it. Don Ecker.
That's by the way,
right?
Gerry, that's not a drive. That's a makeable putt.
Yeah, that's what my dad used to say. I go, "You're driving me crazy, Dad." He goes, "That's not a drive. That's a short putt." My dad had some great comebacks and stuff, man. My dad was old school, and he would just say the funniest shit to me. He'd look at me and go, "How tall are you, boy?" I was like 14, I think, 13. I was 13 the first time he asked me. I'm like 5'2". He goes, "Really? I didn't know they stacked shit that high." In front of my friends.
Very nice.
Arlie Ermy stole your dad's line.
There was this old Italian guy, Rico Massesso. He had one of those voice boxes things because he had cancer and he took his throat cancer and he had to remove his voice box. And he turned and looked at me because I went girl crazy when I was 13. I really did. I was like, all the boys wanted to go do shit, and I'm like, I'm hanging out with girls all the time. And he turned and looked at me. He put the little thing up to his throat, and he says, "If they cut your head open right now, a bunch of little pussies will come flying out." I love that line.
I begin to understand why you are the way you are more and more every day.
I hung out around with veterans, dude. That was what I spent most of my time around as a kid. Grown men that were veterans, talking tough. I love being around tough guys. And I knew Mercs, man. I knew this one guy. He was a friend of mine. And he was a person we used to play foosball with at the arcade. And one day we didn't see him anymore. And it just, what happened to him? And weeks went by, and then finally we got a report that he'd been killed by an American sniper because he was protecting drug runners. And an American SEAL shot him walking across the gangplank on a boat. Clipped his head right off. Those are the kind of people I hung out with. I liked it. A lot of Marines, old Marines, World War II, Korean shit. Yeah, Roosevelt's speech was metal. Damn right. I got to tell you, both Teddy Roosevelt and his nephew, Franklin, great at speeches, man. Great at speeches. But I think one of the greatest American speeches of all history is Teddy Roosevelt's speech about, when he brought up the whole walk quietly or talk quietly but carry a big stick.
Yeah.
And what he meant was your diplomats are only as good as the military that supports them.
Yep.
So, but man, this is fun. I really loved hanging out with you guys today. I think we've knocked Anima out. She's unconscious.
I need to go. So
yeah, Martin's got Hispanic stuff to do.
Gerry, though, instead of
I guess that means me too. Yeah, I got everything.
Instead of 70, we need to have that clip. Well, bye as the end one.
Well, bye.
You get your wish, Nazi. And Gerry is brought to you by really well-aimed sperm.